Shin Young-woo sweats as he is running, saying he spent months and months obediently listening to them, but now he is being chased. Some guy attacks him, but he keeps running, wondering if he is going to die now. He kneels down in front of Asher and says that Young-woo got too greedy, and as he was blinded by greed, he betrayed his trust even after signing the contract. That is why all of this is happening. He further says, although he had no hopes for Young-woo, he should at least praise his tenacity that accomplished the mission. Young-woo looks up at him and says even though he completed the difficult quest, Asher is treating him like that without any reward. Asher looks at him in anger and says he will surely grant him a reward. For Young-woo, who lost Asher's trust, the reward is death. Young-woo looks behind and sees a man attacking him with a sword. Young-woo thinks maybe this is it. To think that this is the result after pursuing a quest for months by putting his life on the line. Young-woo realizes this is outrageous and calls it a shitty game. The world's greatest virtual reality game, Satisfy. With over 2 billion players worldwide, it is a fantasy world so vast that it can be called another Earth. The explored lands cannot compare in size to the undiscovered lands. And that place was, as expected, in a certain unexplored area, Northern End Cave, the deepest location within the cave. An area with all types of battle gear piled up like an overwhelming mountain. It remained unexplored until a certain user arrived and discovered it first. 1 hour ago, Young-woo was on level 73 Stage Warrior, and he looked happy as he found the S-grade quest item, Legendary Craftsman's Rare Book, for Earl Asher. He stands there thinking it was a difficult journey, and anyone would have quit the game by now. An S-grade quest that he can't even give up halfway. He wonders just how many levels he did drop and how many potions and equipment he lost to deal with that. He makes a plan of not talking to Asher ever again once he gets the Sun Sword as the reward. He recovered the quest item now, though its state is unidentified, and says he needs the Discerning Eye, Eye of Palalian. Eye of Palalian is a highest-grade appraisal item worth 5,000,001. Young-woo looks at it, thinking it is damn expensive, and realizes this game company is making his greed unending. He remembers the loans he has gotten because of this game, but all of a sudden, the Legendary Craftsman's Rare Book starts appraising, and it shows that he has discovered a legendary item, Pagma's Rare Book. This is a book that contains the technique of the Pagma, the master blacksmith who transcended human limits. By opening the book, he can change his class to Pagma's descendant. Shin Young-woo stands there shaking as he couldn't believe he had a chance to become a legendary class. He is so happy realizing that he can become the strongest, one and only class. But then he sighs and reminds himself that he is there to clear an S-grade quest, and it would feel distasteful to leave the quest like that. Though he plans to sell the book, a legendary class, it should cost at least a few hundred million won. He thinks about all the times he has struggled. He has even been doing some hard labor due to the game price and school expenses, and the only confidence he has about it is his tenacity. But all his friends left him for being addicted to the game. Even his family ignores him, thinking he is a sore loser. He cries as he is overwhelmed realizing the days of his struggle are over, and is excited to tell his mom, dad, and little sister that he has become successful with the help of the game they never liked. He then tries logging out as he wants to sell it as soon as possible, but the game couldn't end there, and it shows that the quest, Earl Asher's secret request, has changed to Earl Asher's anger. Young-woo stands there confused, though Asher says all these people have the same kind of greed. The game shows Earl Asher's anger, because Earl Asher is angry that he tried to take away the rare book, and he intends to kill Young-woo and recover the book. Asher says it is a worthy verdict for a traitor like him, though Shin is furious, telling him to stop it as Asher even reduced his reputation that he struggled to accumulate to reduce item prices. Though Asher tells his man to get him and kill him, Shin gathers his strength, and as he knows he is still a level 73 sturdy, he has things called techniques. He stopped the guy's movement with a guardian shield, but the guy didn't get stunned. Shin realizes if he dies here, probably the book will disappear, and he can't clear the quest nor log out, so he has only one choice left, which is opening the book. Before Asher could do anything, it was already too late, as the book is now opened and all stats and skills have been reset. Shin feels like the power is overflowing, and he has changed class to Pagma's descendant, the legendary blacksmith. And once the class change is over, a new title has been given to him. One who became a legend. Shin is now on level 1, and he smirks as he wants Asher to die. On the other hand, someone calls the head of the SA group and satisfies developer Lim Cheoholo, informing him that class change happened minutes ago. Shin Young-woo's level has dropped by 2, and he's now at level 1. Young-woo lays down on the ground and mumbles that Asher wanted to kill him. So now what is up with the face he is making as he kills people just because they got swayed a bit, and mumbles as if everyone is listening to stop playing the game and live a happy life? Shin Young-woo then gets out of the automatic machine from which he was playing, and he looks pretty exhausted now. His mom looks at him furiously, asking him if he even knows what time it is. In the game, Satisfy's developer operating company is SA Group. The head of Satisfy's operation team, Choi Na-hee, welcomes the head of the SA Group and Satisfy's developer, Lim Chiolo. He looks pretty curious and says to her that the class changed 5 minutes ago and he wasn't expecting that as it looks pretty interesting, and tells her that at first he has to check the reports. Later on, in the office department, they all see Shin Young-woo's stats, and Choi Na-hee explains to Lim Chiolo that Shin's ID is named by grid. Originally a level 73 warrior, now at level 1. She further informs him that he changed classes using Earl Asher's quest item, Pagma's rare book. According to the Intel Room's report, he is an ordinary user who is addicted to the game. His special achievements are staying in the same city for a year to raise his reputation, and playing in a level 200 area for 3 months, while endlessly dying. She continues saying that although Lim Chiolo ordered them to report directly to him for legendary class changes, looking at that foolish and inefficient pattern, they can consider this an accidental case that is unnecessary to report. Lim looks at his stats carefully and says that he personally thinks luck and tenacity are good traits. On the contrary, Choi Na-hee disagrees, telling him that he gained the class due to pure luck, so there is no meaning to it, and even though she thinks it is a shame as the operations team leader. Though Lim says that he is saying that this luck is what he finds interesting, and tells Choi Na-hee that, as she knows, according to the supercomputer Morpheus and the development team's predictions, the Northern End Cave and Pagma's rare book were supposed to be discovered in 2 years. However, that boy, he means Shin, broke the predictions, discovered the cave, and activated the quest chain to get the book and asks her, can those quest items be explained with luck? And adds that there is another that is interesting, which is the minus level. Normally the Asher quest is given out after level 350, but the lower-leveled grid changed classes because he didn't want to lose the item. Dropping to level 1 is an extreme penalty that follows legendary class changes. Moreover, the rules state that the level drops by 2 when someone fails a quest, and beginners below level 10 are exempted from that rule, but Shin became a level 1 because he was in a penalty state. Lim tells Choi if she realizes 10 stat points are given per level, and Shin is the only level 1 user until then. They need 2 level ups to reach level 1 from 1. That means that Shin's body stats will be 20 points higher compared to other same level users. And he further asks her if luck stacks up to this point, or if it can't be called inevitability. And if it's inevitability, could it be related to his skills? Choi panics, realizing there is a disruption of balance in the game, and they need to fix it. Though Shin Young-woo tells her to not go that far and point out the things she said, that he is an inefficient user, so there shouldn't be anything to worry about. Moreover, Pagma's descendant is weak in combat compared to other legendary classes. He tells her that he is heading back home, and if there is something about the report, she should call him. In the employment agency, Shin sits exhausted and isn't able to listen to the guy at the counter, though the older man there tells him to listen to the man at the counter, as he has to get the money for the job earlier. People there mumble as they know he is a game addict and realize that it's no wonder, as he doesn't look good. After taking the money, he sits outside the agency looking at the money, thinking this should be enough for the game. He thinks that only paying for the games comes to his mind, and feels guilty as he was planning on selling items and making a comeback in life. But he just lost a few $100 million worth of money. He thinks that he even kicked away his chance at success and wonders if he struggled that much just to have his dearest level 73 drop down to 1. On the other hand, Lim Chiolo stalks him in his car, and as he looks at him outside the agency, he doesn't see any value in him and thinks that might be true. But he thinks that that is his greatest asset, and he will have to realize that himself. Though Shin Young-woo puts his hand on his face and smudges it in frustration, thinking that he should at least have one proper skill, and groans, wondering if he can ever do something properly in life. Though he tries to shrug off his thoughts from his mind and plans on playing the game again, Lim smirks, realizing Shin's tenacity is certainly great. Later on that night, as Shin Young-woo sits in the capsule, he plans on having another round of the game. Even if he loses, he should at least check out the new class and thinks that things should work fine as long as the capsule holds on. As he is counting on the capsule, he decides to do everything he can to gain a profit from it. The game connects to Satisfy. As he enters the game and looks around, he seems to not understand where he is, as it doesn't look anything like yesterday's cave, and wonders if he got banished from the town. He walks around thinking he worked so hard in Patreon to raise his reputation, though he finds it unfair that they banished him just for a small betrayal. He moves further to find a landmark to find out where he is. He sees a temple and moves inside it. That place is pretty gloomy, and the game tells him that he has entered the Yatan Temple. Shin sweats as temples are generally level 150 dungeons, so this is probably dangerous. Because he enters the temple, his stats and info are being shown. There is a skill usage restriction. The probability of receiving the weakened status effect has become extremely high. Shin feels if they are the stats of a fly, and he is really at 1 level, so it doesn't look like a bug. Though he looks at the option like the probability of the item increasing, he can equip all the items, reputation rising, etc., and find them pretty good. He thinks that he could use the enhancement skill to make money. As for the items, maybe he should try it out, and as he chooses that option, Mammon's greatest sword is equipped with Mengel's plate armor. He looks at himself, being impressed as he managed to equip the level 60 item that he was planning on selling even though he needs more than 200 points in strength. But the drawback is the penalties, as the penalties are applied because the item's conditions aren't met. Mammon's greatest sword's attack power and option effects are decreased by 30% and 50%, and Mangel's plate armor defense and option effect are decreased by 20% and 50%. But still, Mammon's greatsword has an attack power of 200 and Mengel armor's defense of 130. Since normal 1-level equipment's capabilities hover around the 10s, this is almost 10 times better, even with penalties. Shin Youngwoo kneels down and looks at the sky and smiles in happiness as he finds it amazing, as expected of a legendary class, and feels blessed. He then realizes if this is a level 150 dungeon, then the surrounding area must be a field of similar level, and as he looks around, he sees a group of Yatan believers, as it is a Yatan temple, and probably they are casting an incantation, and roaming around in that state would be suicide for him, as he would die just by grazing them. He decides to get out of there without getting caught, but before he turns around, someone stops him, and to defend himself, he attacks them with his sword. But the guy tells him to calm down, as he will end up killing people at that rate, and introduces himself that he is Earl, Steim's secret bodyguard. His name is Doran, and he says that seeing him hiding, he himself realized that Shin is not on their side. The girl surrounded by Yatan believers is Earl Steim's daughter, Irene, and it seems like she was kidnapped during Doran's vacation. Doran says all of it seems difficult, though he is happy that a helper is by his side. He means Shin, though Shin looks confused as he never agreed to help. A quest starts to rescue the Earl's esteemed daughter. Rescue within 1 hour, clear reward 3,000 gold, clear reward of low chance of becoming the Earl's son-in-law, and failure is level 2. Shin gnashes his teeth, frustrated seeing another quest, realizing the guy is an NPC. Shin suddenly gets another skill, Composure, with a notice that stat points cannot be distributed. Lower the probability of being affected by a status effect and recover quickly from one. Shin realizes he should quickly learn about his class's characteristics. On the other hand, Doran smiles and says that he is happy that Shin is helping him, and thanks him for making that hard decision, though Shin refuses, saying he won't help him and tries walking away from there, though Doran stops him, asking him if Shin really wants him to face all those black magicians on his own. But Shin stands there unfazed as his current state is because of another S-grade quest, and the 3,000 gold is just a pity. But Doran asks him, isn't he a powerful person who can withstand the Terror's temple? He convinces him that without him the rescue is impossible. Shin screams in frustration that he is fine just because he is lucky, and if he fails again, he will be at level 3. But Doran keeps begging him for help and tells him that he is too weak to rescue the lady. Instantly, one of the Yatan men falls on the ground dead as the quest is accepted too suddenly by Shin, but he doesn't understand on whose authority it happened. Doran tells him he is now an enemy of Yatan believers too, as he killed one of them, and their enemies are fanatical believers who sacrifice humans as offerings. Doran tells him he will clear the passage and will leave the lady in his hands. On the other side, all the men start running towards them to attack them. Shin is scared to death as he finds himself in this terrifying situation of tons of men trying to kill them. Even though he is fully equipped, his health is only at 34 because of the penalties, and he thinks that he will die just by touching their breaths. He kneels down on the ground and cries, thinking he barely managed to steel himself and make a comeback, and yet everyone is going to kill him, but when he looks up, he is in a state of disbelief. Doran is fighting and killing all the men. Shin's jaw drops, realizing he is moving so swiftly and quickly in this narrow space, and maybe they might survive. But he realizes he might not survive as he hears one of the men telling his companions to kill them. Doran says to him they won't get anywhere just by fighting them, and that they were waiting to kill them all at once rather than individually, and then he grabs him and pushes him. Shin Youngwoo screams that he will die, but Doran casts a floating spell to avoid crash landing and says to Shin that it must be obvious to him, and that he is amazed at his humility. Shin regains his composure and asks him if he has a skill that allows him to believe in what people say, and thanks him that he got his breath again as he thought he was gonna die. Doran tells him if he is thankful, then he should go full power from now on, because this is where the real rescue starts. Meanwhile, the men worshipping there are making prayers to punish them, addressing them as heretics. They keep saying, "Blessed source of underground, gather thy deepest grudges. Shin Youngwoo, confused, asks Doran what all these people are chanting, to which Doran replies that it is black magic, and it's a pain to deal with. But he won't wait for them to finish and cast his spell and throws knives at the casters and kills some of them. The remaining others there scream, saying Doran is mocking their casters and chant, "Children of Yatan, buy us some time," as they absolutely have to kill that heretic. Shin stands there with his mouth widening, saying the magician mobs should be around 150, and yet Doran is facing them all on his own, and mumbles to himself that Doran is amazing. He thinks within himself that he might clear the S-grade quest using just the NPC at that rate, and then what he can do right now is cheer. He screams, addressing Doran as his sunshine and his hope, and cheers him that he can do this. Though the men chanting keeps chanting, "Destroy thy wind, forget thy will, and the soulless puppet thou shalt be." They are already finished chanting, and a strong energy gathers around Doran, and he screams in pain. On the other hand, Shin stands there nervously laughing, and to lighten the situation says to give his cheers back and says sarcastically that he always wanted to be a Yatan believer. One of the men laughs mockingly, taunting what a fitting end for an annoying insect. But Doran suddenly calls upon Steam's shadow Doran and further says that he is merely completing the mission as the sword that guards the family emblem, and with another level of determination fights back the energy gathered around him. Shin is stunned and is left speechless as Doran dispels the black magic and wonders if he is a named NPC. The named NPCs are famous or skilled characters who have important roles. All those men start pre-preparing a spell again. Doranzol, however, refuses that the fanatics who have laid their hands on the STEM family, there is no such thing as again. But as he casts his spell and sends knives towards them, they all protect themselves with magical shields. Doran is frustrated, and his frustration doubles as Shin Youngwoo says they have such good fortune for today. All of a sudden, they hear footsteps, and it is a lady. Her entrance stops the battle for some time, and she says that they will have to give up this offering, and for further days, it is her S-grade quest to defend this sacrifice. She smirks, saying to think that she will face a named NPC like Doran. This is her first exciting quest after a long time, and she asks him if he will be a worthy adversary to her, Yura. Though Yura can see Shin Youngwoo's state and the quest's current situation, Earlsteim's only child is a beautiful and chaste lady called Irene. The Yatan believers kidnapped Irene to offer the sacred virgin to God. Clear requirements: rescue Irene within 1 hour after accepting the quest. Earl's son-in-law's nobility stats will be available. All stats 20+. He will be treated as a viscount. Power and honor will be raised. He can advance into the social circle of the nobles, and he will receive a monthly salary, and this would be a shortcut to gain a higher rank, but the quest failure will make his level drop by 2. Yura, the Blood Witch, is a Korean player known for being the #1 black magician in the entire game and ranking 5th in the unified rankings. She is also a bit of a celebrity who appears frequently on TV due to her superb beauty and spectacular gaming skills. Thinking that one of the intruders is Doran, Yura is surprised. Meanwhile, Youngwoo and Doran wonder what a top-ranked player like Yura, famous for her control of black magic, is doing here. Without any warning, Yura casts a spell, and a massive blast erupts, filling the area with smoke and shaking the ground. When the air clears and the smoke settles, Yura asks Youngwoo if he is the one who activated the S-Class quest. Youngwoo feels clueless, as he doesn't understand what she is talking about. She adds that this was the only place she could test and train her new skills without being bothered, but thanks to him, she now has a chance at a rare quest. Furthermore, she asks Youngwoo if this quest isn't a bit challenging for him with his gear. Youngwoo narrows his eyes at her and realizes that Yura got his level wrong. But, as expected of a ranker, she's really perceptive. However, there's no need to despair. With a sly smirk, Youngwoo suggests Yura shouldn't get full of herself, pointing out that Doran is the named NPC here. Yura replies that she is well aware of Doran's abilities, but she's also a level 230, so she'll manage. In an instant, Doran suggests attacking, saying that one should never hesitate in battle because the quicker they move, the higher their chances of victory. Yura raises her hand to cast a spell, mentioning that, as expected of a veteran NPC who has gone through 3 class changes, Doran is quite strong, to which Doran responds, suggesting to see if she can be swift after this, but realizes that his legs are stuck by the magical vines created by her spell. However, as expected from Doran, with his powerful gear, he manages to free himself from those magical vines and says that these petty tricks won't work on him. He slashes through the magic vines and declares that he'll be returning what's hers, chopping them up and throwing the pieces back toward her. Yura instantly moves her sword through the air, making herself safe from the chunks, and says that she's impressed by how he is still able to put up a fight, to which Doran replies that he has enough strength left to take her down. Just then, the air starts to crackle around them and the ground starts shaking as Yura casts her strongest spell. Seeing this, Doran comments that her previous spells were just a ruse. Yura says that since he won't back down, she'll have to kill him. She summons massive magical vines that pierce his limbs and other organs of the body, causing blood to flow from his body. Seeing this, Youngwoo starts panicking, realizing that the game will be over for him as well if Doran doesn't survive. Yura mentions that it's an advanced skill fueled by 30% of her mana, and with this, it's time to end things. Just then, a strong magical shield appears from Doran's ring to protect him. He breaks free from the spell, telling Yura how arrogant she is and addresses her as a young black magician. He shows her his ring and says that he will show her the power that has protected his liege for centuries. Yura, in complete shock, wonders how he broke free from a level 220 mesmerize skill. Youngwoo, equally shocked, asks what just happened and if he is alright. Doran explains that it's all thanks to the ring, which activates in times of danger. It's not perfect, but it shields him from curses and heals his injuries. Youngwoo, greedy, asks for the ring. Doran narrows his eyes and says to him that it's a bold request. After that, he suggests to Youngwoo that they must hurry, as the ring won't hold Yura off forever. They both rush to corner her. Yura realizes that he certainly isn't an easy opponent, and decides to save her trump card for later, using high-tier magic to finish him off. Shin hesitates, realizing that the warrior player is the only variable he can't deal with, but wonders what can a scared, low-level player possibly do in such an advanced field. He looks toward the NPCs and wonders how they have already responded. Shin shouts and tells Doran that those cult fanatics are back. Yura wonders if they are trying to clear the quest by relying on an NPC. She calls them amateurs and, without wasting her chance, casts her strongest dark magic spell. She asks Doran how he can look elsewhere in the presence of the strongest spell found in dark magic. A horrible dark storm appears. Doran and Youngwoo are startled by her strongest spell, and fear is clearly visible on their faces. Waves of disappointment rush over them. The wind rumbles, and a strong splash appears in the air from the dark storm. Later, after the destruction caused by that spell, Yura realizes that maybe the move was a bit too strong and that the temple can't possibly withstand the force, but she assures herself it's better safe than sorry. They can't possibly have survived. As the wind settles and the smoke clears, Youngwoo and Doran appear. Seeing both of them, sweat runs down Yura's face as she wonders how they could still be alive. There's no way she wouldn't recognize such an advanced player, she thinks, starting to wonder who that guy is. A pop-up appears saying Youngwoo's HP level is 1, making him realize that his health is down to its lowest. This shows he was hit, but then it hits him that he's safe due to immortality. When health points are at their lowest, damage is neutralized for 5 seconds. Youngwoo smiles as he realizes that he is alive, which makes Yura question how she thought he was just a level 80 player. She wonders if he is smiling at her and how she couldn't recognize such an advanced player. Just then, Doran hits Youngwoo, using his back to jump into the air to attack Yura, warning her that this is why he told her the fastest one to move wins. But Yura, on the other hand, casts her spell to attack him back, suggesting he shouldn't underestimate her as he hasn't won yet. In an instant, she creates a diamond barrier around herself for protection. Doran, completely unbothered, comments on how she still has tricks left to use against him and destroys the entire barrier. Yura panics and struggles, realizing she can't hang on much longer and needs to deal with that player before it's too late. Just then, the whole field empties, and as the smoke settles, Yura startles, wondering if he just left. She thinks about how strong he was, yet he didn't even lift a finger to fight. She has no idea that Doran is standing right behind her as she continues wondering about that player. Meanwhile, Youngwoo is depressed in his pod as the pop-up from the system announces that his character has died, he has lost 2 levels, and he is now level 3. Having died twice in the last 24 hours, he cannot log in for the next 12 hours. Suddenly, it hits his mind that Doran pushes him to use his back, and that was the moment he died. Furious, he starts cursing Doran. Back on the field, Yura is still annoyed, realizing that Doran left to yield the quest to her. She gets furious and wonders how he dared to take pity on her, as if she were a second-rate player. She mutters to herself, "I'll get you for this." The next day, the game community is stirred up by a new mysterious player who becomes known as the Ghost of Yatan Church. Youngwoo sits in his pod, still annoyed over Doran, cursing him for forcing him into a quest, and then killing him. He disbelieves how an NPC could kill a player when he was supposed to help. Youngwoo realizes it all happened because of Yura. Everything would have been fine if it weren't for her. However, he changes his mind, thinking it's a game where only the strongest players survive. Calming down a bit, he starts tapping on the keyboard to open Yura's player forum. As he opens the forum, there are many negative comments written by him, cursing her and saying bad things about her. Aggressively, an evil laugh appears on Youngwoo's face as he curses Yura again, yelling that he'll take no prisoners. He shouts, asking Yura to die, and continues tapping on the keyboard to write more comments, determined to destroy her reputation. Just then, Sei steps in. Seeing him going crazy, she leans toward the pod and asks Youngwoo if he has finally gone mad. Youngwoo shouts, startled. Shin Sei, a 17-year-old high school girl, is Shin Youngwoo's sister. She suggests Youngwoo to clean up his room, saying it smells horrible. She asks him to take a look at himself in the mirror and think about when he last took a shower. Embarrassed, Youngwoo asks her to leave and stop nagging him. Changing the topic, Sei leans into the pod, glances at the screen, and asks if he can really make money playing this game. Youngwoo tells her it's a popular game played by over 2 billion people, and that if he's good, he can definitely be successful. Sei reads the comments on Yura's forum written by Youngwoo. Embarrassed, he panics and denies writing them. Sei leaves the room, telling him he is just an embarrassment. Youngwoo panics and continues to tell her she is misunderstanding the situation. Irritated, he realizes that Yura is a nuisance even in real life. The next morning, while sitting in front of the TV, Youngwoo realizes that mom and dad aren't home and Sei is at school, so he decides to chill and watch the Satisfy channel. As the channel appears, the reporter introduces himself as Lee Kyungmin from Satisfy Global News and says he is on site to report their latest story. Youngwoo realizes that the game is so popular it's on every channel, and he'd make a fortune if he became famous. The reporter continues, saying that the place on the screen is the remains of Yetan Church, located in the northern part of the Eternal Kingdom, and questions what could have possibly happened there. Youngwoo's eyes widen in shock as he hears a very familiar name. The reporter says that the person involved in the case is the black magician Yura, also known as the Blood Witch, and that there seems to have been an intense battle, considering the state of the place. The reporter calls on a witness who was on site during the incident. The person explains that he ended up there while being chased by a monster when he heard a loud sound. That's when he saw Yura attacking some guy with her amazing spells. He goes off topic, praising Yura's beauty. The reporter asks him to stay on topic. The witness continues, saying something shocking happened that even left Yura dumbfounded as she used one of her ultimate attacks on the guy. But he wasn't affected at all. The reporter interrupts, saying that must mean the guy is a high ranker, and if he's famous, the witness should recognize his face. The witness says he was mesmerized by Yura's beauty and got crushed under a rock, so he didn't see the guy. The reporter questions the identity of the mysterious player who has captured everyone's attention. This scenario makes Youngwoo think he could become famous. Excitedly, Youngwoo picks up his phone saying, "Who would have thought about this?" Finally, things are looking up. He makes a call to the operator of Global News and tells him that he wants to report that he is the guy from Yetan Church. The operator asks for his ID, to which Youngwoo replies, "Grid." Then the operator asks for his level, and as Youngwoo tells him it's 3, the operator cuts the call. Youngwoo falls in disappointment and starts murmuring. Meanwhile, on the TV, the reporter continues, saying they will be releasing a clip recorded from the incident and asking viewers to call if they have any information. Annoyed, Youngwoo comments, "Like that will do anything." Just then, Doran appears on the screen while Irene is struggling to carry him. The reporter announces that it's Doran and that he rescued Irene after all. Youngwoo is shocked and realizes Doran isn't looking so good, but remembers that he did go up against Yura all on his own. Irene starts crying as Doran becomes completely unconscious, which makes Youngwoo think maybe he didn't make it. He recalls Doran thanking him for making that decision and realizes that, NPC or not, Doran was a nice guy. Smirking, he recalls Doran's ring and thinks he should have given it to him. He decides to get some sleep while the reporter keeps going, announcing that next up they have Satisfy Hot Topics, and their guest today is a player who's been gaining a lot of attention lately. The reporter asks the guest to say hello to the viewers. The guest greets everyone and asks them to make sure they know him. He introduces himself as Katsu, a level 203 Japanese warrior. Youngwoo wonders if that dude is famous for being a jackass. Rumor has it he's the son of a tycoon, and he certainly sounds like one. The reporter says Katsu shot up in the unified rankings and is now ranked 53rd. He tells Katsu that everyone is dying to know the secret behind his success since he jumped 30 levels in just 3 months. Youngwoo's eyes widen, and he sits back in shock, wondering how Katsu did that because it took him years to reach level 70. Katsu stops the reporter and asks if this is a Korean broadcast, mentioning that Yura is currently the top ranker in Korea. The reporter agrees. Katsu addresses Yura and warns her that her days are over. He will utterly crush her and become the #1 ranking player in Satisfy. Youngwoo calls him insane, thinking the 53rd ranker is challenging a 5th ranker, and although he hates to admit it, Yura is a monster. Katsu continues on the television, saying the secret everyone wants to know is his sword. As he pulls out his uniquely shaped sword, Youngwoo is impressed, but wonders how that could be the secret behind leveling up. Katsu tells everyone he will prove it right there. His sword starts transforming and a wave of heat envelops it. Startled, Youngwoo wonders what the hell is up with that sword. Katsu explains that it's his passive skill, which transforms his weapon to consume his opponent's health based on the damage he inflicts. The more he attacks, the faster his health and speed rise. The reporter, trembling, says in a breaking voice that he's never heard of such a skill, to which Katsu replies that of course he hasn't. It's because Katsu gained it 3 months ago by becoming the Blood Warrior. Katsu asks if everyone likes it, and reveals that it's the name of his epic class. Youngwoo wonders if that's another hidden class that can boost levels immensely. He decides that he also wants to utilize his class as Pagma's successor. After a while, Youngwoo returns to the game and enters Barren Village. He realizes this is where he came for Asher's quest, and guesses that the church wasn't rebuilt because of its hostile relationship with the Yatan cult. There are many players roaming around. One of them announces that warriors at level 130 heading to Mubaid Ruins are welcome to join. Another says they are recruiting level 200 players for the Guardian of the Forest raid, with their mission to find the ultimate mineral, blue orichalcum. Seeing all this, Youngwoo realizes these are all raid parties for high-ranking players. He supposes it's no surprise, considering all the monsters in this village are above level 100. On the other hand, he realizes he will probably starve to death with his disappointing low level. He decides he should head to a village better suited to his level. Just then, he sees a carriage and thinks it might get him to the location in one piece. He excuses the carriage driver and asks if he can hop on, saying he'd like to get to the closest and safest village from here. The driver agrees and says that for beginners, Winston Village is good, but it's 10 gold for the ride. Youngwoo panics and asks for a second, checking his current assets, which reveal he has only 3 gold and 11 silver. Disappointed, he looks toward the driver, who rudely tells him to get lost. Youngwoo says he didn't even say a word yet. Fully aware of the situation, the driver sarcastically asks if Youngwoo wants a discount because his mother is sick. Hesitating, Youngwoo agrees, and the driver gives him a shut-up call. Youngwoo sits in the corner and starts crying, completely disappointed with his situation, muttering, "To hell with capitalism." Youngwoo sits on the side of the street while tears flow from his eyes in frustration. He curses capitalism and says that he'll probably die on the streets this time. He continues to panic as worries flood his mind about how dirt broke he is because of Asher, and wonders how much he spent on the quest. He further tells himself that his class change was useless, as he is now level 3. However, he realizes that if he creates an item, he can make money and also level up. With that thought, he raises his fist to his chest with hope. He starts strategizing and tells himself that he should be careful not to attract attention in case something awesome pops up. He decides to check Master Blacksmith craftsmanship first, and sees that there is a plus 10% boost on all stats of created items, indicating that his status and fame will increase every time he makes an item. Youngwoo further considers that his craftsmanship skills are already at a master level, in addition to his level 1 legendary blacksmith skills. Even the number 1 blacksmith is only at an intermediate level, so it's great. The best part is this creation skill, where he can create an item to match his preference, which will hopefully be a masterpiece. With these calculations, he thinks he has 3 chances, so he should give it a try. Youngwoo takes out his sharp sword and says that if an epic class is that intense, then a legendary class should be better. He decides to look into it further and selects it on the screen. A pop-up appears, informing him that he is using the legendary blacksmith's creation skill and asking him what item he wishes to create. He chooses a greatsword because weapons come first and foremost. After the input, another pop-up asks him about the materials he would like to use. He thinks the strongest materials would be better, so he chooses blue orichalcum and inputs that. However, a pop-up asks him to input the item's characteristics, leaving him confused about having to do it himself. He takes a shot and draws it, thinking it'll be grand and powerful, just like a shark, hefty and shiny. Excitedly, he continues to design it with attack power over 10 million, meteors that strike each time he attacks, something that overrides his opponent's defense, and instant kill capabilities. When he finishes drawing, he admires it and thinks it looks like both a shark and an anchovy. The screen alerts him that auto-calibration will start, with revisions applied according to the materials and blueprint provided. Surprised, Youngwoo wonders if his blueprint was that bad and questions the numbers appearing on the screen. When auto-calibration is completed, Youngwoo's eyes widen as he suddenly understands all the information, even though he has never worked with blueprints before. He starts feeling like a real blacksmith. The sword displays above the screen in 3D with durability at 1090, attack power 1020, defense 80, and agility plus 50. He is impressed to see that the settings have also changed. Now the sword has more options, which is perfect because he can join the Guardian of the Forest raid to get the blue orichalcum. However, he realizes the raid is for players at level 200 and above. Before he can process this, He notices a user requirements section indicating a required level of 300 plus, even though the Uber 1 ranker is only at level 250. He realizes that even if he put all his stats into strength, his total would only be near 5,000. Considering that the number 1 blacksmith player is only at an intermediate level, he acknowledges that his skills are advanced. However, despite his advanced skills, the shark-shaped sword he created is basically junk. Upset again, he quickly remembers that it's not completely useless because he doesn't have restrictions on equipping gear. Even if he incurs penalties using this sword, it will still be impressive. As long as he can continue making items, it doesn't really matter. With newfound confidence, Youngwoo stands up to join the Guardian of the Forest raid. Once he does, he plans to grab his prize and make a run for it. When Youngwoo asks to join, the leader refuses, explaining that the party is for players level 190 and above. Judging by Youngwoo's gear, he seems to be only level 60. Youngwoo chuckles at the leader's statement and replies that, even though his gear is shabby, he is actually level 100 and doesn't rely much on his gear. The leader gets angry and asks if Youngwoo is implying that all their skills are based on gear. Another man joins in, mocking Youngwoo, saying he's never heard of him before and calling him a loser without equipment. He even bets that Youngwoo is one of those free riders who must be lying about his rank. Youngwoo is stunned by their angry accusations. However, a man among them, Regas, tells the others not to be too harsh on Youngwoo and suggests giving him a different assignment since their guild will handle the boss monster. Everyone looks at Regas in awe, realizing he is the Regas from the Tzedakah Guild, the number 1 martial artist with the nickname Ultimate Fist and level 180. This is especially impressive since martial artists have severe item restrictions, making it very hard to level up. Youngwoo bitterly thinks about how unfair life is, as Regas is good-looking too. The leader tells Regas that this isn't the time to be nice, arguing that they can't take Youngwoo without testing his abilities. Regas replies that it's better to have more players for the raid cleanup. Youngwoo happily agrees to the cleanup task and thinks Regas seems like a nice guy. The leader continues making excuses, while Youngwoo mentally tells him to just listen to the ranker's command. Regas suggests a 1.1 match to test Youngwoo's skills, ensuring there won't be a problem if he proves himself. Youngwoo feels happy to get a chance but is shaken to realize that he'll be fighting Regas. Youngwoo realizes that he is now in trouble for having to fight against Regas. However, the man agrees with Regas' suggestion and calls it a brilliant idea, which will be enough to convince everyone else. Just as he is about to announce the fight by confirming Youngwoo's name, Youngwoo cuts him off and runs away in fear, making up an excuse about getting bored and deciding to practice some moves with his left foot today. Regas is confused as he watches him run away, wondering why he left, as it would have been great if he had joined. Youngwoo keeps running, regretting how it didn't go well. He considers making some money for his carriage fare first. He opens the screen for it, and the pop-up asks him to input the name of the created item. This confuses Youngwoo, as he can't believe it wants him to name a literal failure, but he still thinks he has gotten the hang of it. Therefore, Youngwoo tries, keeping in mind that there is a limit to how many items he can create, so he should avoid making things unless it's absolutely necessary. Considering this, he thinks about how busy he will be making money and studying. When Youngwoo arrives at Smith's smithy, he is ordered to get out in a harsh manner. He tries to explain, but the smith cuts him off by questioning his words, how to make an item that sells well, repeating them. He asks Youngwoo if he thinks it's an easy job. The smith continues his work and calls Youngwoo a disgrace to blacksmiths, just another half-wit running after money. Youngwoo attempts to convince him by saying he hasn't asked for anything bad and just wants some slack. But the smith tells him that he's not the only one who thinks this work is a joke. People like Youngwoo, who underestimate what others do, aren't cut out for real work. He insults him, saying that he doesn't have what it takes to be a blacksmith, so he should leave. Youngwoo sighs in disappointment and steps out, mumbling to himself about how stuck he is, as this was his only chance to earn carriage fare. When Youngwoo starts to worry about this being his end and wonders if he is going to rot in the village, Smith comes out, wishing his heart was made of steel, and commands Youngwoo to stop whining in his yard and get him some firewood. He gets reminded of the reward for chopping firewood and thanks Smith happily, calling him the best. Now, Youngwoo starts chopping firewood, thinking about how he hasn't had a normal quest like this in a while, just chopping wood and leveling up. However, he shouldn't forget that he can fail to chop firewood in this game, as it's too realistic. So he decides to appraise the axe first. When he tries to do so, he's shocked to achieve 100% understanding of the old axe in a single try, which could be due to his passive skills. However, just as he's about to strike, he sees the guideline on the firewood for the place to strike. When Youngwoo strikes at that exact spot, the wood breaks in half in a single try, making him really happy. He calculates that if he achieves 100% understanding of legendary items, he'll be super rich soon. With that, he keeps chopping for 2 straight hours until he finally falls to the ground, exhausted. He sweats profusely, hating being level 3, as he feels weaker than a piece of paper, having only chopped 150 pieces. Nonetheless, he gathers back his strength and stands up, encouraging himself to do it for Smith and for himself, to leave this town soon. As he does so, a pop-up stat unlocked appears, which he looks at with confusion. Another pop-up appears, telling him that his weight-carrying capacity has increased. Youngwoo wonders happily if this is a special stat for legendary classes. He realizes that he doesn't feel exhausted anymore. In fact, he feels super energetic, and continues chopping until there's a large pile. Smith looks at the pile with surprise, as Youngwoo chopped 1,000 pieces in 6 hours, to which Youngwoo calls it a piece of cake, claiming he's a blacksmith too. However, Smith disregards him and tells Youngwoo that he'll believe him if he can finish the mining ore job, as that's the basics. Youngwoo thinks that those experience points will level him up to 0 and agrees to the task. Upon reaching there, he realizes that it took him 3 hours for a 30-minute walk due to the penalty. He supposes that it's because he's wearing level 70 gear at a minus level, but it's irritating nonetheless. Youngwoo tells a man that he's sent by Mr. Smith, at which the men make fun of him for being just skin and bones and don't believe him. One of the men tells him not to cause any trouble and just stay in a corner. He also says that he'll talk to Smith about sending such a weak person. They turn back to their work until they hear the sound of an axe. They turn around to find a lot of iron ore coming out of the ground as Youngwoo strikes his axe. They look at the iron ores in awe, unable to understand how he's doing it even while wearing the armor. Even though Youngwoo's body feels like it would break any moment, he continues to dig, as it makes him feel better. He admits that what Smith said about his capabilities is true, but decides to learn what he doesn't have. The men start praising his strength, saying that they thought he'd be an incompetent idiot, but instead, he's turning out to be a great miner. Youngwoo ends up mining a pile of iron ore until a pop-up appears, telling him that he has acquired 170 iron ores. He shouts with joy, declaring, "Persistence is my weapon." With this, he finally reaches level 1. Shin Youngwoo sits there inside the game as notifications start popping up in the game that he is now on level 1, and his stats that were fixed to a minimum due to the minus level penalty have been restored to their normal state. Also, the basics of stats of Pagma descendants have been applied. He looks at his current status, and it shows the name of the level is 1, 45-100, and the class is Pagma's descendant. The title is One Who Became a Legend, and he is finally back at level 1. A normal level 1's total stat points should be only 22. Health, 280 mana, 75, strength, 20, plus 5 stamina, 18, agility, 12, intelligence, 25, dexterity, 50 persistence, 16, composure, 10, indomitable, 11, dignity, 10, insight, 10, stat points, 40 weight, 3035, 820 weight, 40 stat points. But Pagma's descendants is 165, so if he counts the persistence that was created earlier and the additional point in indomitable, it's 182. Shin looks at the stat points, which are 40, and is shocked, as they are supposed to give out 10 points per level, so the question arises, why does he have 40? Shin realizes there were 4 levels from level 3 to level 1 and is amazed by seeing this transformation. Mr. Smith, on the other hand, jokes and tries to lighten things with Youngwoo, saying that to think that he treated such an outstanding person so harshly is pretty embarrassing. Meanwhile, a message pops up telling Youngwoo that his affinity with Smith has increased by 60, and his reputation within Barrentown has increased by 20, which makes him pretty shocked, though Smith keeps asking him not to be mad, and that they are both blacksmiths. He anyways asks him to recommend some items that sell well, like he said last time, as he needs the money for his carriage fare. Though Smith tells him that he has prepared just the thing for him, Jaffa arrows, and he tells him that these should be good enough as Youngwoo's first item. Youngwoo holds those arrows and examines them. However, he hesitantly says that these are such simple arrows, and these cheap, expendable items don't really make much. Smith smirks, proudly claiming those are not just some ordinary or average arrows, as they have a bit of a Jaffa mixed with steel. Its effect is that it ignores some of the enemy's defense, and this is indispensable for raids against powerful golems, such as the Guardians of the Forest. Shin understands that these details about the arrow change everything, and then he appraises it. A notification pops up telling the Jaffa arrow, priced at 6 silver with a normal rating, deals 20 attack damage, has an attack power range of 20-26, weighs 0.1 with 89% understanding, and Shin can use it skillfully. Shin realizes if he increases his understanding by disassembling it, he will get to learn the production method, as 89% understanding of the arrow is required. Though Smith tells him to teach him the production method and asks Shin to follow him. Smith shows him, and as well as tells him that firstly, he needs to smelt the ores by putting the appropriate amount in the blast furnace. Afterwards, he has to remove the limestone and the impurities from the iron, and by cooling the molten iron, he gets pig iron that is not suitable for weapons. To make it suitable, he needs to reduce the carbon content through a process called steel making. He looks at Shin, saying this was the smelting process, and maybe now they should try it with the Jaffa ores, though it is quite hard to get the right proportions of minerals. Youngwoo is eager to try it out, and he watched the blacksmith's actions carefully. Although Satisfy is a realistic game, acquiring knowledge is quite easy. Moreover, for him, he has something called the class compensation effect. He notices the signs, probably for the directions and the strength of the bellows. Surprisingly, it hasn't been 5 minutes, but he managed to heat up the furnace. The game warns him that Pagma's descendant is sensitive to the temperature, and also he is precisely measuring the blast furnace temperature. He gets a notification window with the detailed temperature on display from 700 centigrade to 730 centigrade. It is a success, as he gets a notification again that the quest is cleared, and he has gained 80 experience points. His affinity with Smith has increased by 30, and he has gained 3 Jaffa ingots. Shin gains level 1 and is currently at level 2 and gets pretty happy with excitement, but freaks out when Smith praises him as well as calls him sexy, but changes the topic, saying that even though Shin wasn't experienced with the smelting, so he can't simply be called talented anymore. He further says it's just like Pagma was reborn, not exactly a reincarnation but a descendant. Smith directs Shin to move on to the arrowheads. Mix and heat the molten metals together repeatedly and pour it into the mold. After letting it solidify for 40 minutes, he gets an arrowhead like this. With this, he moves on to the anvil. While he hammers it, he has to keep in mind the balance on either side. He also has to grind the edges cleanly, and all he needs to do afterwards is to place the arrowhead on the arrow shaft. To increase its penetration, he needs to get the correct weight balance for the arrow shaft and the feathers. Youngwoo wonders if he will be able to do it, but trusts himself as he gets the notification that he is learning about Jaffa arrow production methods, and his understanding of the Jaffa arrow has reached 100%. Smith tells Shin the material cost is free for this time, and he will be watching, and while watching, he thinks Shin is no ordinary boy because the way he handles the molten metal is masterclass. Smith wants him to teach about the arrow shafts too, but Shin tells him he will do it on his own as his understanding is 100% now, according to the notification. Straighten out the twisted parts, and after cutting it uniformly, make the fletchings using feathers and glue. The efficiency is astonishing due to Shin's dexterity stat and class compensation effect. Smith is shocked as Shin made them after having a single look and asks him what he is doing and why he is quenching the arrowhead. If he does that, although it will get harder, it won't be as durable. Though Shin grins, telling him not to worry as he plans on tempering the arrowheads, it's a bit over the top for an expendable item. However, Smith tells him he won't have time to make many of them using this method. But Shin assures him if he makes it even a bit better, he can sell it for a higher price, and if nobody like him wants to grow successful, all he can do is this. He completes the process, and Smith advises that he just needs to stick the arrowhead and praises that Shin really has been hiding a monstrous talent. Shin smiles, saying his occupation to this day has been about doing hard labor, so he never expected he'd have so much fun working like this, and now he waits for the quest to be cleared as he finishes. Suddenly a notification pops up that the legendary blacksmith's breath has activated. As Youngwoo gets the notification of the legendary blacksmith's breath being activated, another message pops up that legendary blacksmith's level 1 has all the stats of the crafted item increased by 5%, and there is a rare chance of giving special features to his crafted items. The special Jaffa arrow is rated as epic, with an attack power ranging from 35 to 42 and a weight of 0.1. It ignores a portion of the enemy's defense and has a chance to completely bypass it altogether. Shin doesn't understand what it is about epic, though another notification pops up that the quest is clear, and upon clearing the quest, an epic-rated item is produced, permanently increasing all stats by 4, boosting his reputation by 80 across the continent, and granting 300 experience points, raising his current level to 3. Shin's eyes widen, and he says, leaving the level up aside, its epic grade is phenomenal. And Smith says that this is magnificent to think that a boy who isn't an apprentice like Shin made a perfect arrow. Shin cries as he gets overwhelmed that it should have been a sword, but he got an epic grade. Shin thinks that still amongst the existing arrows, there are none that exceed 40 in attack power. Moreover, there is the extra option to completely ignore the enemy's defense. He feels proud, though, that his class's effect is amazing, and at this stage, this must be better than most level 20 one-handed weapons out there. Later on, Shin prepares to leave. However, Smith feels it is a pity that Shin can stay a bit longer, but Shin assures him if destiny allows it, they will meet again. Smith hands him over the weapons, saying he can't keep these amazing weapons, so he should take them with him. As they talk, a message pops up again that Shin gained 100 Jaffa arrows and 3 Jaffa ingots. Shin wonders if maybe Smith is giving those to him because their affinity got higher, but thanks him for the care and for everything he did for Shin. Although the presents are nice, the weight will slow him down, and it will take a while for him to reach town, though in any case, as long as he sells the arrows, he can leave this place. He says goodbye to Smith and thinks within himself that the users should wait for him as he, Gridnim, is going to bring those guys some amazing things. In the Guardian of the Forest raid scene, Jashuka, guildmaster of the Tzedakah Guild, Regas, Toban, and Vantner, guild members of the Tzedakah Guild, fight the people they met in the forest. Jashuka warned them, but they didn't listen, so most of them are dead now, and they even capture the boss. So the other members who are still alive are just small fries for them. The damage is too great. Even so, somehow they managed to finish it, and they got 30 black iron ores, 7 orichalcum ores, and 1 blue orichalcum ore as the loot. Regas isn't really pleased by the loot, as the amethyst shield that has the worst drop rate didn't appear again. Vantner, on the other hand, says, "At least they got blue orichalcum, and they fought all day and only made losses." Jashuka asks Toban how many of them died, to which Toban replies that including the guild members makes 75. While the main force was dealing with the boss, the golems multiplied, which was detrimental to them. Jashuka knows that the difficulty of this S-grade linked S-quest is harder than they expected, and they need to take some proper measures. At the Barren Village, Jashuka says the 4th raid yielded no results again, and the value of the Guardian of the Forest is falling amongst the users. At this rate, the quality of the users for future raids will considerably drop. Tzedakah Guild. This guild is composed solely of high rankers as its guild members, but because of its small size, their fame is also small compared to their rankings. Before the launch of Satisfy during the era of LTS, the members were 17. LTS is a famous MMORPG game that was popular before the launch of Satisfy. Due to their small numbers, they always perform raids with other ordinary users, but even that method has its limits. Without the Amethyst Shield, they can't continue the linked quest, so they should put the raid aside and increase their strength. Jashuka tells everyone that the Tzedakah Guild will focus on individually leveling up and enhancing their equipment, and in 3 months' time, those who don't gain 15 levels will die, and she informs Regas that he needs to gain a minimum of 20 levels, leaving Regas in pure fear. At the auction house, Jashuka asks the man there to show her some Jaffa arrows, as her guild is in pretty bad shape right now because they used to attract attention in the beginning of the game, but now they won't even bat an eye. As she begins to buy some arrow supplies, she sees that they are selling them at triple the price of a normal 6 silver per arrow deal. She sees the purple ones, epic graded, and its info is that the special Jaffa arrow is an epic item with an attack power of 3542 and a weight of 0.1. It ignores some of the enemy's defense and has a chance to completely bypass the enemy's defense. Jashuka is in shock as she asked almost every blacksmith to make her some arrows, but she never heard of a high-grade arrow before. She thinks that it is a cheat-like performance, and it can be a decisive weapon during a high-level battle. She plans on first having to bid for it but thinks, who on earth has made these? She further thinks that if it is not the top 2 blacksmith rankers, Panmir and Steng, it means there is another blacksmith who has surpassed their level. The information has been shown about the arrow to Jashuka when the message pops up that it is an arrow crafted by a skilled and promising craftsman who lacks experience and reputation. Due to the combination of Jaffa with steel, the arrow possesses extremely high penetration and the ability to ignore some of the enemy's defense. While having food, Vantner is teasing Regas because Regas is worried that just how can he level up 20 times within 3 months, to which Vantner replies that they have to think seriously through this, because when Jashuka said she will kill them, he is sure she will definitely do it, and sarcastically says that at least he will pay for his last meal. Suddenly they get a notification, and it is a guild announcement, and Jashuka has updated them to find users in the top 100 blacksmiths ranking whose player is lower than the skill level. Vantner doesn't understand why she is suddenly telling them to search for a blacksmith. On the other hand, Regas stands up and gets frustrated that she was literally telling them to level up earlier, and now she is telling them to do it. He angrily calls her whimsy, but calms down within seconds when another notice pops up by Jashuka that mocks her and she will them. She also notifies them that this user has the skill to successfully lead them to victory against the Guardian of the Forest. Vantner says that if Jashuka is so sure of herself, they should find this guy. Very small team of elites managed to run in the top 3 of each class rankings within half a year. Because of the pride, they don't accept new guild members. Although they are not famous or influential like those other large guilds, their strength is recognized by everyone, and they have authority in their hands. This is them, the Tzedakah Guild. Jashuka thinks if the users Panmir and Steng It must be because his items far surpass the original ones. All the guilds around the continent will be in chaos as they search for this user, so they need to find him first. In a fresh setting, a guy is talking Panmir, top-ranked blacksmith, telling him if he has heard the rumor about the guy who us being searched by a certain powerful guild because he made something unique. He further adds that all of Satisfy is talking about it, though Panmir doesn't seem to hear him and stays quiet for a bit. After a while, he says he just saw the news. An epic grade arrow made by a master craftsman with great skills and potential, but lacking in experience and reputation. He feels insecure as even he doesn't get called a master craftsman in the description. He thinks that although it happened twice only, he was the first person to craft an epic grade item. He was proud of putting in more effort than anyone else, but questions himself. Who is this person now? At the labor office, a queue has been made and the speaker tells everyone to be careful when they arrive on site, and he will list them out individually. The announcer announces that the Shinwoo building's construction site is looking for 4 workers, but before Shin could say that he wants to be a part of it, all the elderly people go first. When the announcer asks that he needs 3 strong tilers with experience, but again a guy elbowed him, making Shin furious. Shin shouts, saying he is also there to make a living, so they should stop acting like that. The announcer tells everyone to maintain the decorum and announces again that he needs electric pulling work of 110,000 won for 1 person. Shin doesn't speak as that one's awfully demanding. He tried it last year and the cost of medicine afterwards was greater than the income, but someone forcefully raised Shin's hand. The announcer thinks Shin is volunteering and selects him. In the morning, Shin looks exhausted, and before even doing breakfast tells his family that he is going for work, but his father tells him to stay a bit. Though Shin was in Hiri, but still, he stayed for a bit thinking if he pays back the loan interest, his savings are only at 9221. Although his father takes out an amount of 70k, telling him that they will give him the money for his daily wage, so he can take a break today. Shin looks at the money thinking, the daily is at least 90k these days, though his sisters give him a dead look to take it and stop being ungrateful, and tell him that she has prepared him a bath so he should go use it. Later on, he joins the game as it's nice resting and playing the game, but after paying back his debt, his account savings are at 0, and that is why he is not motivated. He plans on going to another village and seeing how high the arrow price goes, as it is his only asset right now. As he sees the prices, his eyes widen and jaw drops because the price of the Jaffa arrow is 72 silvers with 99 arrow. 99.72 silver, that makes 71 golds and 28 silvers. Since 100 gold is 120,000 won, he got about 80,000 won in 6 hours. He tells the man at the auction place to give him his, so he hands him 60 gold and 59 silver, because epic grade items have a commission of 15%. After a bit, Shin thinks if he can make money just by crafting items, there is no reason to leave the place, but he remembers Smith's behavior and plans of moving away from there. Shin is traveling by a carriage and tells the carriage driver that the fee was a lot as it was 8 gold and 90 silver, but the driver tells him that he should be thankful as he reduced it for Shin. However, Shin asks him if the beginner's village is called Winston. The driver tells him it is right, and people say it will be changed into a city because of its high population, and apparently the heir of the Stimes family will become the new city lord. Shin finds Stim a very familiar name but doesn't really recall it. He finally arrived at the new village now. As he enters the place, it looks 4 times the size of Baran. The streets are more bustling as well. Shin plans to start over properly now, starting off by sorting out his inventory. The weight is slowing him down too much. He decided to leave everything he can in the warehouse. When he takes a look at his inventory, it includes the following items: Mammon's Greatsword, Mengel's Plate Armory, 34 intermediate potions, 27 advanced potions, 2 intermediate strength potions, 3 intermediate agility potions, a special Jaffa arrow, and 3 Jaffa ingots. He questions himself if this is all he has, and then he thinks he should appraise the Mengel armor and Mammon Greatsword as well, and if his understanding increases, the penalties should probably drop as well. He gets a notification that his understanding of Mammon's Greatsword has reached 33% and Mengel's Plate Armor has reached 65%. Unlike the axe, it didn't reach 100% right away. In an instant, more notifications start popping up that due to an increase in understanding, the penalties have been adjusted. Mammon's Greatsword attack power reduction adjusted from 30% to 20%, and Mengel's Plate Armor defense reduction adjusted from 20% to 8%. Shin is a little satisfied that at least he gained this much, and since the durability has fallen a bit, he could repair the item to increase his understanding, but right now he needs to save money. Since he will need energy to craft things, he should store the equipment for now. At the warehouse, Shin asks the man to open his warehouse. The man handling the warehouse tells him that there will be 30 silvers and another 10 silvers per item. He gets frustrated because of all the money going, but sighs and stores his armor and weapon first, and plans on holding on to the epic grade silver he kept as a souvenir, as it's a waste of 10 silvers to store. He now plans on looking for Smith and arrives at an enormous place, making Shin think there must be an intermediate or higher class blacksmiths there, and that means they will treat him favorably probably. But as he enters the place, it is empty. But he hears a voice asking him, who is he, making him realize there is someone there. An old man, Khan, is laying on the bed surrounding bottles of alcohol, though Shin tells him he wants to craft the best-selling item there, so the man tells him the Mero company is selling items in bulk at a lower price. Due to that, the items there haven't sold well for a long time, and tells Shin that this smithy closed down long ago. All of a sudden, 4 to 5 guys enter the place, threatening Khan as they tell him to hand over the building to them and show him the sales contract paper and tell him to sign it and hand over the building to them. Shin thinks that it isn't the Mero company that big and famous, so how is there a contract of handing over the building and the rights? He is not sure what is happening but plans on sneaking out before things get complicated. But as he tries to go out, one of the guys tells him to stop and calls him a spy from the Skanker company. But Shin realizes he is a gangster hired by the Mero company. Outlaw NPCs kill users sometimes, and the guys look to be around level 35, so he should not fight back and act accordingly. Shin chuckles nervously, telling him he is new to Winston and he didn't know this smithy was closed. The guy examines him from top to bottom and then tells him to get lost. As Shin starts walking away, he overhears their conversation that all the men are saying stuff to the old man, telling him to give them half of the money he gets from the contract, and either way, his son died from a disease, so he should stop being stubborn and mocks him if this place is his son's grave or something. Listening to all of it, Shin gets angry, though he tries to calm himself, telling himself it's not his business and he is not some hero, but a notification pops up notifying him that Blacksmith Rage has been created, and he must complete the quest by defeating Mero Company's minions and destroying the smithy contract. If he succeeds, Khan's drinking problem will improve, and Shin will become very close to him. Shin will also unlock the skill Blacksmith's Rage, but if he fails, Khan will die in a few days, and all his quests will disappear. There is an acceptance reward, and to think that the reward is a class skill, he obviously has to do it. He thinks that what are his odds though? First, there is a reliable skill, Legendary Blacksmith Patience. His health, defense, and dexterity will increase by 200% for 1 hour, and the passive skills that give him 5 seconds of invulnerability when his health touches the rock bottom, and he also has the stats of a level 20, but the problem is that he left all his equipment in the warehouse, so he has no weapon. However, he realizes he has one. It's epic grade. Even though its attack power is low, as long as completely ignoring the enemy's defense activates, he has a chance. All those men notice Shin and tell him that they let him live while he is here, though Shin stands there unfazed, telling them that even if they are debt collectors, there is a limit to everything. One of the guys tells him to get lost again, and when he notices the arrow, he laughs mockingly, telling him he won't be able to do shit with a single arrow. Shin smirks, telling them this isn't all he has, as he just gained another weapon, Blacksmith's Rage. He fights with the guys with the arrow and wonders since when the low-level warriors are that fast and thinks of needing the advantage, and as he notices the narrow stairs, he goes there. Instantly, one of the guys comes to attack him, questioning him what he is going to do with an arrow, and in an instant, the Blacksmith's Rage activates. His attack power and attack speed will significantly increase for 20 seconds. Shin attacks the guy, and the guy lies on the floor, knocking him out. All the guys stand there stunned. Shin smirks, asking everyone, "Does it look like a simple arrow now?" Shin looks at the arrows, being impressed. He landed 2 hits thanks to the increase in attack speed. Moreover, the ignored defense was activated, and it was a critical hit, killing him with 2 hits. A lot of notifications pop up that he killed an outlaw from Winston. His reputation in Winston increased by 60, and now all outlaws in Winston are his enemies. He earned 4,300 experience points and 5 notifications of gaining a level. He is currently at level 8. He gained 5 levels for killing a level 35 outlaw, going from level 3 to level 8, 125, 1,400 experience. His health is 316, mana is 87, and weight is 842, 1,000. He now has 110 unused stat points. His stats are Strength 24, Stamina 22, Agility 16, Intelligence 29, Dexterity 55, Persistence 21, Composure 14, Indomitable 16, Dignity 14, and Insight 15. Shin is stunned seeing his stat points being 110 now. All the other guys are angry, though they have high attack power but low defense, and in order to defeat the remaining ones, he needs to invest points in strength and agility. Since there are 4 of them left, he plans on using all of them. Notification pops that he has invested 50 stat points in strength and 60 stat points in agility. The remaining duration of the Blacksmith's range is 10 seconds now. He thinks of killing one more in the meantime, but the attack wasn't strong enough to make him dead. The guys know Shin's attacks are fast, and they won't fight on those narrow stairs using large weapons. On the other hand, Shin thinks that guy didn't even die after increasing his stats, and this time, the option didn't activate, nor did he get a critical hit. The guy tells Shin if he doesn't want to live up the stairs forever, he should get down. Shin knows he has no other choice now, and they will have a head-on fight now. He looks at all the guys smirking, thinking if they surround him, he won't last 2-3 hits, but still he has a backup plan. His health is low, and his defense is equal to 0. But if they surround him, he can kill them all at once. All he needs is the health to last until then, so what he needs right now is legendary blacksmith patience. The guy mocks him, thanking him for saving them time. Meanwhile, the legendary blacksmith's patience activates, but it fails as it doesn't consume mana, and this skill cannot be used intentionally. He has no option left now as all the guys start attacking him. His max health is at 316, so he drinks the intermediate health potion that heals 1500 health, 20 seconds until he can use the next one, and if he doesn't keep up, he dies. One of the guys attacks him on his leg, but before he could defend himself, he slices it in half. He has no choice now, so he uses an intermediate strength potion, which increases his strength by 50 for 5 minutes. Cost, 10 gold or around 24,001. He also uses an intermediate agility potion, which increases his agility by 50 for 5 minutes. Cost, around 19.5. He regrets wasting the money for a big meal on a B-grade quest. They all attack him together, and he needs to at least heal his leg, so he plays smart and tells him he will let them go, so they should leave behind the contract. The guys get furious, telling him he is lying as he killed their companion. The potion's cooldown time is almost over, and as one of the guys, Johnson, mocks Shin that the one who will die is Shin, not them, the potion cooldowns, and Shin attacks the same guy and kills him. A notification pops up that he killed the outlaw Johnson. He has gained 4,300 experience points and gained 3 levels. The statistics shows that the grid is at level 8 with a progress of 125 out of 1400. Grid's health is full, at 316 out of 316, and mana is also full at 87 out of 87. There are no stat points remaining to distribute. The weight is 842 out of a maximum of 1000. Grid's strength is 74, stamina is 22, and agility is 76. Their intelligence is 29, dexterity is 55, persistence is 21, composure is 14, indomitable is 16, dignity is 14, and insight is 15. Grid has a legendary blacksmith's creation item, and there are 2 remaining slots available for use out of 3, and the probability of adding extra options to an item during production and to enhance items will increase. He can equip all items without conditions, but penalties may apply depending on item restrictions. The chance of gaining reputation and the amount it increases will improve, and the chance of increasing affinity and its amount will also improve. As Pagma's descendant, he inherits Pagma's will and techniques with the belief in using blacksmithing to help others. He cannot forgive the Marrow Company and its minions for oppressing old and powerless blacksmiths. Help Blacksmith Khan, who is tricked by the Marrow Company and loses his customers. Get rid of the Marrow Company's minions and destroy the smithy transfer contract. Khan was once a great blacksmith, but became incompetent due to stress and alcohol dependency after his business was ruined by the Marrow Company. If Khan recovers, he will regain his status as a great blacksmith and will help him greatly once he learns Shin's identity. Grid stands there with his powers and calls out that it's not over until it's over. He says to Vale that he'll give him another chance to accept Grid's offer, but the Vale mocks Grid saying that he's been quick just and he was relying on the potion's effect. He charges toward Grid to attack him and calls him a potion junkie, at which Grid also runs towards him and confidently asks if he's coming at Grid without defense because, unfortunately for him, Grid is now level 11, and with that, Grid hits his chest with the front of the arrow. When Praga gets injured, his other fellows attack Grid, making him fall onto the ground, whereas Khan shouts to confirm if Grid's okay. Grid realizes that he needs to get away and buy some time to drink another potion, but one of them grabs him by his waist, which makes Grid even more nervous, until he spots an armor, so he pierces the arrow, which he holds in his hand, onto the back of the Praga. Vale tries to attack Grid, but he quickly throws the arrow towards that guy and runs away towards the armor while they continue cursing him from behind and make fun of him for throwing away his weapon. On reaching up, Grid asks Khan if he wants to protect the smithy, to which he affirms by saying that if Grid helps him, he'll protect this place no matter what. On hearing Khan's answer, Grid takes off the cloth from the armor while asking Khan to let him borrow this for the sake of his smithy. Khan shouts that this armor can't be equipped by just anyone and the ones he can equip are downstairs, but Grid puts it on anyway, ignoring Khan's words. Meanwhile, all of those 3 have also climbed up to catch Grid and taunt him for wasting his time talking to a dead man, and then they jump to attack towards Grid. As Grid puts on his armor, he narrows his eyes on them and sarcastically asks them if they ever heard of being overgeared. Just then, when those three attack him, he turns around and slashes their bodies in half with the sword that was with the armor. By killing all of them, Grid reaches the max level of Khan's approval, and his level keeps getting increased. On hearing the sounds of slashing bodies, Khan runs towards Grid while inquiring about that sound and asking him if he is all right. When Khan sees Grid in the armor along with the slashed bodies, he is left dumbfounded. However, Grid calls the armor amazing and says that he would have never expected to find such good items in a countryside like this. When he sees the name of the creator of sword and armor, Albertino, he calls him incredible, whereas Khan asks Grid with surprise if he recognizes the value of those items and their creator, to which Grid lies nonchalantly that he can figure that out with just one look. Suddenly, Khan collapses, and Grid wonders carelessly if it's due to high blood pressure or drinking too much at his age. He walks to Khan and bends over him while saying that he's cleared the quest, so he should get going by moving on to the next quest. But Khan keeps lying there and foam comes out from his mouth. Grid gets irritated and yells at Khan to stop foaming and give him the next quest already, but he doesn't wake up. When Valmont gets to know about it, he yells at Beale about how the mercenaries they sent to the smithy are missing and if they ran off with the money. Beale begs his pardon and tries to explain that they were the best mercenaries he found. However, Valmont cuts him off and tells him to shut up and pay back for the loss by compensating for the advance payment and the commission fee. As being a merchant, he can't have any debt. Beale explains, scaredly, that he doesn't have that kind of money and begs Valmont for another chance. Valmont seethes in anger and tells Beale to go make some money if he doesn't have it, as selling his family on the slave market would make a pretty penny. He orders his men to get Beale out of his sight and then turns to Rabbit, the administrator of Marrow Company, to ask him what actually happened. Rabbit was also not sure of what happened. However, he knew that the men did make it to the smithy but went missing afterwards. Valmont curses under his breath and says that just one smithy is allowed per village. Therefore, they must take this one out, no matter what. He continues to curse the mercenaries as he can't believe how those fools are incapable of such a simple task, then proceeds to ask Rabbit about Khan. Rabbit judges him for being arrogant and cruel, as Valmont didn't even think twice before firing Beale, a loyal employee who served him for a decade. However, he replies that Khan was taken to a clinic by an unknown man 2 hours ago. Valmont thinks about a stranger carrying Khan to a clinic, which means that the person would know what happened to the mercenaries. He continues saying that they've imported cheap weapons to put Khan out of business and forced him into borrowing money from loan sharks and finally have him concerned, so they can't miss this opportunity. Afterwards, Valmont tells Rabbit that he's in charge of handling this issue. Young Woo sits in his room, stuffing his mouth with food, and thinks about how he has reached level 21 just by beating up some outlaw thugs, and now he can't wait for the follow-up quests. He thinks about the armor and the sword, drooling over the thought that if he gets it as a final reward, he could become a billionaire. He thinks that Dane's Life and Valhalla are both unique level items, just like his first creation, Failure. But, unlike Failure, they're both tradable and have normal equipping prerequisites. He realizes that since he left Khan with the doctor, everything should be fine by now, and then enters the capsule thinking about how Khan needs to take better care of himself since there's a fortune at stake. As Grid arrives in the game, he finds himself standing outside the clinic, which he finds odd, but he goes inside. Khan greets him happily, whereas Grid asks the doctor about how Khan's doing. The doctor replies that he's good to go, and his blood pressure is also back to normal and should remain fine as long as he stops drinking. Khan thankfully shows his gratitude towards Grid and claims to be indebted to him. However, Grid replies that there's no problem and they should help each other out. The bill was sent to Khan's address, so he's free to go now. Upon hearing this, Khan apologizes that he's short on money, so he won't be able to pay for his treatment. Grid was about to say something, but the doctor said to him that he must not make God angry, as he could take back his blessing, and suggested Grid to pay the 1 gold himself. Grid, however, pays for Khan's treatment, and they go to the smithy. On reaching there, Khan thanks Grid, as he finally has hope again when he almost failed his forefathers by giving up on his family business. Grid reassures him that it's fine and he should get some rest as he's still a patient, and had he lost this place, his health might have gotten worse due to stress. He further says that if he hadn't been there when Khan passed out, Khan wouldn't have made it to the clinic. Khan replies that indeed he was very fortunate to have met Grid, and he wishes he had some way to repay Grid. Grid takes the opportunity and points towards the gear to have it as a reward, but Khan says that it's special to him. Grid continues to persuade him because Khan said he was indebted to him. Khan denies that it's his family heirloom, and his forefathers protected these items with their lives. Dainsleaf and Valhalla are ill-fated artifacts because no one was mighty enough to wield them, so they've been kept hidden for centuries. But 130 years ago, there was a man who was worthy enough to be their rightful owner, whose name was Pagma. Legend says that Pagma became one with Dainsleif in Valhalla, and his every move was like a fearsome and deadly dance, and his sword dance was so terrifying and mighty that it pierced the sky and called forth thunder. Khan continues to tell that his forefather, Albertino, kneeled down to Pagma and begged him to be the rightful owner of Dainsleif and Valhalla. Grid asks if Pagma took them, but Khan says that he refused and said that the true owner of these items would reveal himself one day. Now, 130 years later, Grid has appeared and wielded these items. Therefore, he urges Grid to tell him how he did it so that he'll make a decision. Grid wonders if it's a follow-up quest and decides to claim it before anyone else. So he replies that he doesn't know how to explain, but perhaps Pagma's spirit runs through his veins. Khan looks at him with shock, as this means that Grid is the successor of Pagma, and as soon as Grid confirms, he receives his follow-up task to acquire Pagma's sword dance. Grid gets annoyed and says that he thought he was going to give them to me if he answered him, but Khan asks him to understand that the verification is necessary. He further adds that perhaps he has come across the successor of legends like his ancestors, and if Grid is the successor of Pagma, his rightful ownership will be proved anyway. He calls for the celebration while taking out alcohol, but Grid confiscates it, saying that he can't get it back before Grid's quest is over. Just then, Rabbit enters the smithy while calling for someone until he spots Khan and introduces himself, saying that his name is Rabbit, and introducing himself as speaking on behalf of the Marrow Company. Khan tells him to go downstairs, where they sit around, and Rabbit says that he's been told that Khan was unable to pay off his debt of 600 gold to his company. Khan confirms, however, he refuses to give up his smithy. Rabbit explains that he's here to offer an opportunity, so if he hands over the smithy, he will guarantee him generous compensation as well as management rights. Khan scoffs at his offer and asks whether Rabbit wants him to become his company's lackey, at which Rabbit says that it's a much more profitable offer than the earlier one. Khan replies to him that earning profit isn't his concern, his duty is to protect his family business. Rabbit then gives him another proposal and asks him what he thinks about an item forging match with a blacksmith from his company, and they will void both the contract and the debt if he wins, because doesn't it make sense for the better blacksmith to be the owner of the smithy? Grid thinks this may look like a fair contest, but they must have someone more skilled than Khan. However, Khan accepts the offer, saying that he's been off work for some time and is also sick. Therefore, his successor, Grid, will compete in his place. Grid gets furious at not getting his permission. However, Rabbit asks if Khan's sure about Grid. As Rabbit tells Grid not to feel pressured, Grid immediately accepts his offer after seeing the 600 gold reward for the quest. Rabbit then leaves, assuring him that he will follow up with the details. However, Khan apologizes to Grid for involving him in this, but he has to protect the smithy, but Grid tells him not to be sorry because if it's about 720,000 won, he'll even sell his soul. Grid notes it's an A-class quest while looking at the screen displaying a match against Marrow Company. He thinks it'll be a piece of cake for him as a legendary blacksmith who has the ability to create epic items. He is hoping for about 740,000 won, when Khan says that he can supply the material for Grid's training, as he has been out of business for a long time. Grid asks him in confusion about why he didn't notify the man in charge of Winston about this. Khan answers that the Lord of Winston is in cahoots with Marrow and has been given a huge bribe. Grid says in surprise that he thought Winston was under Earl Stein, so how about going directly to them? At which Khan replies that he has already sent letters of appeal and was also planning to make a visit himself. However, the Lord of Winston kept getting in his way every time. Grid reassures Khan not to worry, promising to win since he knows that Khan picked him as his champion out of trust. Khan looks at him and says that of course he believes in Grid, and if his son was alive, he would have been a fine young man, just like Grid. At which point Grid cheers Khan up by telling him that he can't be sad just yet, as he's going to be so happy when he sees Grid's victory. After Grid says so, he feels unusual for being so nice. Or maybe it's because he got a lot to earn from Khan. However, strangely, Khan reminds Grid of his grandpa. Later, Youngwoo wakes up and thinks how it's just 4 a.m. and realizes that 2 days have passed in Satisfy, so he might have made great progress. He is reminded that it feels like Khan is a better blacksmith than Smith from Baron, as his skills are amazing despite him not being in his best condition, and he continues to miss Khan, but stops himself and steps out of his room and greets his family. His mother greets him back, surprised at how he is awake early, to which he says that having grilled eel would boost his stamina, at which his dad teases him for not having a girlfriend, but he says that he could date anyone if he wanted to, and his mother agrees with him while liking his confidence. While having breakfast, Youngwoo asks his parents if his grandpa is doing okay, at which his parents look at him with a very surprised and confused look, so he asks what's up with this reaction, to which they explain that they just find it surprising that he's asking about Grandpa. However, he's doing well. The next day at Marrow Company, Valmont yells at Rabbit, asking him in anger what he's done while throwing an apple at him. He yells that Smithy would have been theirs anyway, so why would Rabbit go ahead and make idiotic decisions without even consulting him, as though Rabbit was touched by Khan's sob story? Rabbit wipes his face and requests that he understand that their reputation among the people of Winston is terrible. Therefore, if they make a gesture of kindness, they would be able to earn people's support. Valmont gets furious and tells Rabbit not to lecture him because he's the one who bought up all the people's worthless lands and commercial rights, so why should he care what those ungrateful beings think? Rabbit realizes that Valmont is incredibly narrow-minded, and Marrow Company can't grow under him. So he tries to explain to Valmont that Khan is well admired by the people for fighting against the company despite his adversities. Therefore, they must make it seem like they are offering Khan another chance based on his outstanding skills as a blacksmith, and by doing so, they can improve their image among the people. Valmont finally understands and takes it as a good opportunity to bring in new loyal customers, so he agrees for the sake of making a profit, but asks Rabbit how he can be so sure about winning. Rabbit clarifies that he saw Khan's champion himself, and he doesn't stand a chance. Besides, Rabbit has an excellent blacksmith in mind to be their champion. Valmont appreciates it and says he doesn't want to hear anything having to do with that old man Khan again. However, Rabbit thinks that he'll still need to appoint the finest blacksmith to represent Marrow Company to not let their guard down. Later, a man visits Khan and Grid and is surprised to see that young lad, Grid, defeated Vale's gang, at which Khan replies that Grid's actually a fine man with great skill despite looking a little wimpy. Grid snaps at them for talking behind his back when some people arrive and show Khan some flyers about the match between Marrow Company and Khan that are all over town. Khan replies that he is aware, and the men think that Marrow Company isn't that bad if they want a fair match, as they're guaranteeing Khan's management right even if they win. Grid also thinks that despite sending the thugs, it's a considerate proposal. However, Khan rips off the flyer and yells at them not to forget how Marrow Company dragged them into poverty by monopolizing the local market, and gets angry at how these people have forgotten about their sufferings. After realizing that they all feel bad for believing Marrow Company until a young guy excuses them. Just then, Heroi excuses everyone to catch their attention and says that as far as he knows, Marrow bought their property at cheap prices because nobody was aware of the upcoming development plan, so they all agreed willingly. Grid looks at him confusedly, as he also had a green light above his head, so he must be a player. Heroi continues that before hearing about the development plans, they all were eager to leave Winston after selling their properties to Marrow, so it's the result of their own greed. Hearing this all, a guy gets angry at him and accuses him of being a spy from Marrow, so Heroi explains that he's only stating facts with no intention of fighting, and Marrow needs the people of Winston too for their growth, as Marrow needs loyal customers. Grid notices that the guy almost succeeded in leading others, which annoys him, and he wonders who the guy is. Khan speaks up about the guy being a nosy lad and asks his name, so the guy apologizes for being carried away and says his name is Heroi. Khan says that Heroi has a point that cooperating with powerful organizations would benefit them in the long run. However, Winston is a part of Earl Stime's property, and in Earl Stime's land, there is a local statute called the right of the people. Heroi repeats the emphasized words in confusion, so Khan quotes that residents have the right to access information concerning the area before anyone else, and says that this is passed by Earl Stime himself. As a consequence of the pioneering age, previously established cities and villages were affected when new lands were found in the north. Thus, it was Earl Stime's goal to make way for changes and secure any information that might benefit the residents. Heroi replies thoughtfully that the core problem lies in Marrow Company defying Earl's will. Moreover, the Lord of Winston is at fault for letting Marrow hog all the information. Khan affirms that this is what they're fighting for, at which Heroi inquires about what he heard regarding their appeal to the Earl Stime getting blocked by the Lord of Winston and Marrow Company. When they confirm, Heroi promises to not let the wrongdoings go unpunished, and to discreetly deliver their appeal to the Earl himself. The men get happy on finally finding a solution. However, Grid couldn't believe that instead of accepting a quest, he offered it to the NPCs. Later, when Heroi leaves, Grid stops him in the way. Heroi turns around and expresses his surprise as he thought that Grid couldn't talk, which makes Grid even angrier and says that he knows Heroi came here on a quest which he accepted from Marrow, but how'd he change that quest? Heroi says share quest information, and a screen appears in front of them displaying the change in his quest and its rewards, which surprises Grid as the rewards were too awesome. But to Heroi he says that he's not jealous, and just wants to know how Heroi got the hidden quest. Heroi explains that, as he noticed earlier, he offered to complete the quest. However, it was about making use of Satisfy's high degree of freedom, but only players who have played the game since the beginning know about this. However, someone will write about it on the internet soon, but for now, only early adapters know about this option. So Grid doesn't need to be disappointed. Huroi notices that Grid is fuming with anger and asks him what's wrong, to which Grid replies that he has played the game since the beginning as well. It makes Huroi laugh how Grid still wasn't aware of this fact and calls him a funny guy. Grid curses at Huroi angrily and logs out of the game, leaving Huroi confused. Huroi decides to ignore it as he doesn't have time to waste. He's been playing this game for 18 hours every day, but is still only at level 127 because his class is Orator. He thinks that since his main attack skills are limited to Eloquence, it's been hard to level up as compared to other classes. In addition to that, he has limited weapons, low health, strength, skills, and on top of that, he has no evasive skills. Therefore, he needs a stat with a damage infliction and defense bonus for every 10-point increase. Huroi reaches the place and looks at a huge gate guarded by 4 men and concludes that he has to pass that gate to get to Earlstein. He walks to them and acts cluelessly, asking the guards for the exit, and says how he is just a traveler while thinking that talking his way out is the only option. When the guards don't reply, Huroi feels weird about it, until Rabbit appears from behind and tells him that the guards won't talk to him as he is the one they're guarding against. Huroi gets surprised to spot Rabbit while he continues to remind Huroi how he was supposed to report to him after stirring up the Winston residence. Huroi decides to use his persuasion skill to manipulate the NPC and activate it. He says that he just wanted to enjoy some scenery while planning the instigation, but Rabbit expresses his regret on putting too much trust in him because the commotion caused by the flyers was enough to get the job done, and yet he is running like a traitor. Huroi panics as his skills didn't work out, while Rabbit says that his experience has taught him to always take precaution against disloyalty and betrayal, so he's sure that Huroi understands his reason to lock Huroi up. Huroi starts running to not have the quest forfeit like this, but the guards capture him, and being an orator, his only weapon was a book, so he decides to log out but he couldn't and gets stuck. Rabbit tells him that it's useless to resist and asks if he doesn't know about him not having the power to neutralize the logout spell. He further says that hastily killing him will only help him revive, so they're locking him up instead, and orders the guards to throw Huroi in the dungeons. Huroi's quest changed into waiting for which he can't log out for 50 hours. He realizes that he played for 20 hours straight once, but the capsule system executes a forced logout if playtime exceeds 20 hours and adds a penalty that prevents login for 6 hours, which is 8 days and 8 hours of jail in game time. Even if he succeeds, it'll seriously endanger his psyche. However, as an unemployed single man, he knows no one will disturb him, so he decides to switch the capsule to trance mode, hoping his body can bear it. Huroi decides to do it as it is a hidden follow-up request that was upgraded to S grade. When Huroi switches it to trance mode, a display alerts that he will be logged out if he gets in danger, whereas external power can't be shut down, otherwise SA Group's staff will be dispatched to protect the capsule. Huroi, in his capsule, thinks that whoever helps him finish this quest will have Huroi's undivided loyalty, and he waits for Apostle of Justice. At SA, at 11:33 p.m., a man is working in front of large screens. The game Satisfy is a vast system where actions of players impact the virtual world, and due to the large number of players, various problems arise. To maintain the order, it's essential to keep track of the errors. Mr. Lim, who is sitting in front of the screen, gets notified that Quest B408 has been activated, and his permission is required to summon an emergency board meeting. He grants the permission and starts marching outside while thinking that this S-grade hidden quest activates only under special conditions, with the reward of acquiring a second class. Therefore, if the player succeeds, they'll be the first one to acquire 2 classes. However, the player will have to endure 200 hours of game time, resulting in great physical and mental dangers. The meeting starts, and the information about Huroi displays that he's a Mongolian player, at which Mr. Lim says that it's incredible, as only 3% of Mongolians play Satisfy. Ms. Choi says that he has the Orator class with low combat power, so it's amazing how he was able to achieve level 127 simply by focusing on tasks suited to his class. Mr. Lim asks Director Yoon if the Mongolian branch manager is available, and they connect to him. Park Yoonhil, Mongolian branch manager, joins the meeting, and Mr. Lim asks if he ensured the player's safety, confirming they are monitoring in real time along with medical staff on standby. He further suggests letting the media know about the possibility of the first multiple-class player, as it will help in boosting the market in Mongolia. One of the meeting attendants agrees, considering how difficult it's been to increase activity in the Mongolian market. Another person adds that it's been because people are not fond of confining themselves in capsules. However, one of the members calls them too optimistic because they'll become a laughingstock if that player fails. Director Yoon tells them that they don't need to worry about that unless Hiroi gets locked out due to health issues, as they designed this quest quite easy to clear. Ms. Choi gets asked if she analyzes the success probability, at which she hesitantly says that she has uploaded the files for them to see. When Director Yoon sees that, he stresses out that the probability is only 9%. He shouts to get the player rescued by a hidden NPC in Quest B408. Director Yoon narrates that the player meets a mysterious Apostle of Justice in the dungeon, and he rescues the player after hearing about the situation in Winston. Afterwards, the player receives a big reward by clearing a follow-up quest to help the Apostle, but Director Yoon stops mid-sentence and asks that barring any safety issues, shouldn't most players be able to clear the quest? Before he could get his answer, Mr. Lim laughs loudly and tells him to take a look at the report again, as there's been a change due to Hiroi sharing his quest with another player. He explains that Hiroi was supposed to deliver the message about Winston to the Apostle of Justice only. However, he shared the quest midway, which resulted in the erasure of the NPC version of the Apostle of Justice. Director Yoon reads confusedly that the player who knows about the quest is a player named Grid, also known as Shin Youngwoo. On the other hand, Youngwoo sits at a stall drinking beer, crying about not receiving a mere 600 gold quest by Khan. He says that Khan should have given those sweet tasks to Youngwoo instead of a guy he just met. Even though Youngwoo covered his medical expenses, he keeps crying while ordering more food. Later on, at 1 a.m., he reaches home and decides to sneak in quietly, but gets caught by his sister. She yells at him for not informing her if he was going to be late, but Youngwoo asks her why she's still awake and says that he's a grown man and kids like her should be sleeping instead. She explains about getting concerned as the capsule was empty but gets interrupted by the smell of alcohol and asks him if he's been drinking. As Youngwoo is too drunk, he starts acting weird by asking his sister if she is worried about him or if she's going through puberty, so her sister leaves awkwardly. Back at SA, Director Yoon says that the probability of Hiroi clearing the quest is more likely to be 0%, and the supercomputer Morpheus must have made a calculation error. However, Ms. Choi reassures that she hasn't received any such reports, so that seems unlikely. At which point Director Yoon holds his head and sits in distress and frustration. Mr. Lim says that Director Yoon is frustrated because they can no longer assure the success rate as the scenario has changed. Therefore, instead of the Apostle of Justice, Grid will be the one to learn of Hiroi's confinement. At once, Director Yoon exclaims that Shin Youngwoo is ruining everything by being a legendary class with level 21. He says annoyingly about what Youngwoo has been doing all this time, as it's a shame that such a worthless player like him received a legendary class. He couldn't stop being angry at Youngwoo and called him Poison, who is going to waste another hidden quest and will poison Satisfy's world with his incompetence. Director Yoon is stunned as he doesn't believe that Shin is still at level 21 though he got a legendary class, and that it is a pity the legendary class went to a user with zero productivity like Shin. He couldn't stop being angry at Youngwoo and called him Poison, who is going to waste another hidden quest and will poison Satisfy's world with his incompetence. The other people in the meeting doubt that he will actually fail the quest at that rate, and they have missed the perfect chance to advertise the game. According to them, the only thing Shin has done after getting the legendary class is crafting epic grade arrows and receiving a class quest. Lim, on the other hand, smirks and thinks within himself that this indeed is hard to predict, but if he had to say something, this truly is entertaining to watch, and Shin's incompetence transcends common sense. Currently, in Satisfy there are 3 epic classes. Other than the most recently revealed Bloody Warrior, the details on the other 2 haven't been released yet. The very first epic class user is unidentified, while the second one was revealed to be held by the 7th place ranker. Because of that, the community and broadcasts haven't stopped debating about what the other 2 epic classes were, and who the very first epic class user was. In the game, Steim Earldom, a Caro dungeon, there is this girl Euphemina, and all the guys there are trying to convince her to join their party, telling her that the loot will be shared with her, or she will get all the loot. The other 2 girls there think even though those guys didn't bat an eyelid when they joined the party. Euphemina tells everyone she will join the strongest user's party so they all should demonstrate their powers. All of a sudden, monsters attack everyone, and the guys challenge each other. They will be the ones taking Euphemina with them. All the guys show their power, like producing scorching heat waves, 1-point break, and thunderbolt. Euphemina stands there judging everyone, thinking everyone is pretty average, but her attention shifts when she sees someone doing a swirling frenzy, and she wonders who that powerful person is, and when she notices him, she thinks he must have had quite a hard time leveling up, and it is perfect against Piaro. She decides to use it as well, and uses her duplication skill, and successfully duplicates the swirling frenzy, a level 3 skill that generates a powerful vortex lasting for 5 seconds, dealing 1,530 to 2,380 damage per second to enemies caught within it. Additionally, It reduces the target's agility by 80%, significantly hindering their mobility. The skill consumes 700 mana upon activation and has a cooldown time of 300 seconds. However, it is a one-use skill that can be kept permanently in reserve until it is cast, giving the user flexibility in deciding the perfect moment to unleash its devastating effects. Euphemina smirks, thinking she is counting on it for the next time. She is a level 90 duplicator. The guy who casted the Swirling Frenzy asks her if she will join them, but she disappears suddenly. Euphemina arrives at a place and walks forward, thinking it should be enough with this skill. It took her 63 whole days to prepare for this S-grade quest. She needs to prepare mentally, so she sees the quest's information. The quest, Traitor of the Red Knights S, tasks her with defeating Piero, a traitor who gravely injured Asmafel. Piero is hiding in the treacherous Cason Canyon, and as the target of Asmafel's vengeance, his defeat is crucial. Successfully completing the quest rewards her with the title Agent of Revenge, granting the creation of the Cruelty stat, an attack power increase of 1/100, and unlocking the skill Murderous Impulse. However, failure comes at a high cost, losing 2 levels and reducing Asmafel's trust in her. The difficulties of S-grade quests are extremely high. Moreover, the enemy is an incredibly talented NPC. She thinks that he must be stronger than the most boss monsters. Notification informs her that the Eternal Hermit Piero has appeared. He is the Saharan Empire's strongest knight. Piero is sitting on a throne with his long hair and goldenish eyes filled with rage, but he seems unfazed and asks Euphemina if Asmafel sent her there. She doesn't reply, but motivates herself that she can do this as she has thoroughly prepared for this moment. She starts using her skills, firstly Tartan, the strongest defensive skill only known by the first-ranked Guardian Knight. She only has 9 basic skills, but she can use skill duplicates 3 times a day. For 2 entire months, she has duplicated all kinds of skills used by top rankers, and thanks to that, she now has 50 highest grade skills in her skills list. Although she can only use them once, it's more than enough to clear this. She is the duplicator, the very first epic class user in Satisfy. She uses the skills, Counter Barrier and Swirling Frenzy, but she knows he won't die from this, and she will have to beat him with everything she has got. She uses Scorching Heat Waves, Mace of Light, Tyrant's Majesty, Spear of Darkness, and Prelude to Destruction all at once. She stands there wondering if he died, but realizes she didn't get any notification yet of the quest being cleared. It means the guy is still alive. Casting high-grade skills consecutively, the mana consumption is unbelievable. Euphemina uses her Levitate skill to keep her distance and recover mana using a potion, but before she could do anything, she sees Piero coming towards her, pointing his sword at her. She is scared to death and tired using the skill, Fated to Perish, a skill that always kills when activated. But Piero looks at her with his sharp eyes, claiming he will give her an inevitable death. Euphemina doesn't lose her hope and gathers all her energy and tells to herself that she has to survive no matter what happens, and uses the Nightmare Projection skill. Piero feels the blow on his body and thinks that probably Asmafel came to fight with him because the attack is so strong and the skill made him trapped in the illusion. Nightmare Projection, an ultimate skill that traps the opponent in an illusion, and Euphemina has been keeping it to use in the event of an emergency. It's only for a short while, but he is going to be trapped in an illusion where he is fighting against Asmafel. She has to use this opportunity to replenish her mana and destroy him with more skills. Though notifications inform her about the warnings, due to excessive use of skills, her physical abilities have fallen. She cannot use skills for a while and all stats have fallen by 50%. Euphemina is in ultimate disbelief because she has almost cleared the quest still before Piero recovers. She has to do something. Before she could think of something, she notices Piero, who is already recovered, and her stats as a duplicator aren't enough. Sweat beads on her head and she has no other choice. She abandons the quest. The quest failed technically, her level drops down by 2 and Asmafel's trust on her decreases as well. She thinks 2 months' worth of effort just vanished into thin air, even though it was a great opportunity to gain a new title. The title's effects would have been perfect for her as well. She groans in frustration thinking it was such a rare S-grade quest, but her thoughts are interrupted when a man calls her by addressing her as Miss Arena and tells her that he has a message for her, and if she wouldn't mind, so he would like her to take on a task. A quest has been generated, though Euphemina is not motivated because of Piero, but he wants to give her some unimportant quest, and when she sees the clear rewards, it include 1,500 golds and the title Competitor. With the Competitor title, the Fighting Spirit stat will be opened, the Luck stat will be opened, and the skill Rolling Dice will be generated. Euphemina smiles, thinking since he called her Arena, amongst the many aliases that she has used until that day, Arena is the one she used to craft an item. She gives the guy a warm smile, telling him that she knows he is from the Marrow Company, and she will do it. Notification pops up. Item Production Game. Unknown. She has received a request from the Mero Company to face and defeat the advanced Blacksmith Khan's successor in a production game. Clear rewards include 1,500 golds and the title Competitor. Competitor. Fighting Spirit stat will be opened, Luck stat will be opened, and the skill Rolling Dice will be generated. Quest failure will result in her relationship with the Mero Company degrading to the worst. She has accepted the quest. Item production game. Unknown. At Khan's building, Khan tries motivating Shin as he is upset and tells Khan to leave him be, as he gave such a good quest to someone he has just met. Though Khan tells him that since the company is monitoring the whole village, if Shin tries to leave Winston, he will be eliminated. But an outsider like Huroi will be able to avoid their suspicion successfully, and he can't put his benefactor in such a danger spot. He starts sniffling, telling Shin he wouldn't be able to live if something happens to Shin as he thinks of him like his son. Shin tells her to stop crying again and get back to training. He asks Khan if they decided the date for the competition, to which Khan replies that it is already in 2 days, and asks him if he is ready. Shin smirks, telling him he is more than ready and they should show them what a real blacksmith actually is. If Shin uses his skills, his proficiency increases. He can feel his movements getting more precise and efficient. Notification informs Shin that he has crafted a rare grade item. All stats +2, reputation across the continent +30. As he creates another item again, notification pops up informing him. All stats +4 and reputation across the continent +180. The persistent stats and dexterity stats have increased. This feeling of improvement for Shin is very exciting. After training for a long time, Shin pants and he is completely burnt out. He wonders how much stats have been increased, and when he sees it shows Blacksmith's Technique level 1, 12.7%, and Blacksmith's Breath level 1, 8.9%. Shin thinks he crafted so many items still, that is it, and it is different to that time with the Jaffa arrows. He knows he can't do anything about it as they don't have any high-grade materials because of the Mero Company. They could sell a few epic grade items, but either way, regardless of his stats, he can definitely feel his proficiency increasing. Moreover, he has gained an additional 130 stat points by crafting items. He obviously has to allocate them to dexterity if he wants to win the game, but if he thinks about how he almost got killed by the gangsters, he should also consider his other stats. 60 in stamina, 70 in dexterity, but when he saw his stats, his stamina increased from 52 to 112, dexterity from 99 to 169. Due to increase in stamina, his health has increased from 936 to 1536. Shin realizes these aren't the stats of level 21 users. They rival the stats of a level 75 user. Moreover, his stat points increase every time he crafts high-grade items, so that can cover for his lack of combat skills. Though he needs to do physical labor, he is already used to that. The next morning, at Winston's Central Square Day, the competition day arrived. The square was crowded with local NPC residents and users. Apparently they are the residents who want to protect the smithy from the Mero Company. Valmont and Rabbit are there too, and Valmont asks Rabbit if their preparations are coming, to which Rabbit replies everything is according to the plan. The announcer introduces the lead star of today's competition, the Mero's Company's Arena. Everyone starts cheering her loudly as she looks so pretty, though Shin stands there thinking she is pretty, but doesn't she rival the Blood Witch Yura? And thinks that the cheering is amazing, but they have the local residents on his side. Euphemina gives a warm smile to Shin, telling him since fate brought them here together today, she will be in his care. Shin's reply is cold as he calls her a kid and tells her she is not his type. Euphemina smiles nervously, saying it is rude to a beauty like her, to which Shin says she is pretty, but a little brat like her shouldn't be going around calling herself a beauty. Euphemina is offended, thinking no man has ever treated her like that, and she will humiliate him in front of everyone. She sighs in frustration, telling him she is 20 years old, though Shin smirks, saying that doesn't mean anything to an old man like him. Although the competition starts, the statics of Euphemina are shown that she is a user of level 188, and her class is Duplicator. And about the quest, it shows Piaro, a former colleague of Asmafel, has committed a terrible betrayal. Asmafel was gravely wounded and vowed to take revenge on Piaro. However, Asmafel has become seriously ill and was forced to give up on taking revenge himself, asking you to do it in his place. The quest clear conditions require Euphemina to defeat Piaro, who is hiding in the Kezan Canyon. Upon clearing the quest, she will receive the title Agent of Revenge, which includes the creation of the cruelty stat, attack power +100, and the creation of the skill. Failing the quest will result in a loss of 2 levels, and Asmafel's trust in her will decrease. Separately, in the item production game, the world doesn't know her true identity, but the Mero Company has approached her after hearing about her god blacksmith skills. They want her to participate in an item production game held in Winston against the successor of the reputable advanced blacksmith Khan, who was once famous in the north. The successor is a variable whose skills cannot be measured. The quest clear conditions require her to win the item production game, rewarding you with 1,500 golds, and the title, Competitor, which opens the fighting spirit stat, the luck stat, and generates the skill. Failure will result in her relationship with the Mero company degrading to the worst. Although the announcer announces today's theme is a dagger, they have 3 hours to produce it. The one who creates a better dagger wins the game. Euphemina thinks if she wins, she will gain a new title and the stats. But the only thing that bothers her right now is the quest's difficulty, as the quest is unknown. It probably means her opponent's skills haven't been disclosed yet. She thinks whatever it is, it doesn't matter, and her plans won't change. She plans that the moment he enters the crafting phase, she will duplicate his skill. She thinks if they use the same skills, the luckier person will create an item with a higher rating. Even though this is a gamble, she has a 50-50 chance of winning. She questions herself, will she win this? But her attention shifts towards Shin, who has already started forging. Sweat beads on her head, but she makes herself understand that there is no need to be nervous, and there is no difference in skills. If so, then the one with a better tool will have more chances of winning. The Blessed Blacksmith Hammer is an epic-rated tool with a durability of 299 out of 320, with an attack power ranging from 50 to 70. It's the probability of making a rare item by 15% and an epic item by 5%. However, its use is restricted to individuals who meet the requirements of being at least level 150, with a strength stat of 100 or higher. This hammer also has the intermediate blacksmith's craftsmanship skill, making it a valuable tool for skilled blacksmiths for excellence in their creations. But no matter how good of an item this is, if Euphemina doesn't have the right skill, then it is useless. That is why she plans on borrowing Shin's. She uses her skill, observation, but stops as Shin notices her staring at him. Notification informs her that she cannot analyze the target's skill. The level of skill and observation is too low. Euphemina is shocked, thinking it is not possible, as her skill observation is at level 7, and she even managed to duplicate an advanced blacksmith skill when it was at level 5. She realizes that maybe Shin, aka Grid, is a master blacksmith. The top-ranking blacksmith is only intermediate himself, and there is no way his skill would fail. Sweat beads on her head when she matches the dots that maybe he is in an epic class but doesn't believe it, as Angus, Katz, and she are the only ones to have an epic class. She tries ignoring her thought as if she doesn't change her plan. She is finished. She calls Rabbit and tells him that the user she is competing with has a mentor too, so he should make him participate in the game. Rabbit doesn't find it right to change the rules halfway through the game, but Euphemina tells him to deal with it his way and not excuse it. Rabbit whispers something in the announcer's ear, and he calls Mr. Khan on stage, telling him that it is Miss Arena's request, and she says that the mentor should participate with his disciple. Everyone is impressed that Arena is handling a 2 versus 1 situation. Shin looks at her, thinking she is looking down on him, though Khan tells him to work together as she has requested, and she is thankful to her since it gives him the opportunity to work with Shin, a blacksmith he respects, and gives Khan a chance to gloriously fight for his smithy. They start working together, and Khan tells Shin that he has been the one Khan is aiming for. He asks Shin to allow him to borrow some of his techniques. Arena successfully analyzed the advanced blacksmith's craftsmanship level 2 skill and duplicated it as well, though she can use the skill only once. She smirks, thinking as long as their skill levels are similar, it all comes down to luck, and that won't change even if he is master ranked. She looks at them, thinking how foolish they are as they are still hammering the outline of the blade, and she has already finished forging the blade. On the other hand, Shin's legendary blacksmith's patience skill activates, and his health, defense, and dexterity are increased to 200% for 1 hour. Everything is going smoothly for him, and he's pretty happy with his work. The blacksmith's breath skill activates too, making the item's stats increase, and that's when iron and fire become one. There is still something left, a minotaur horn used for the hilt, but all of a sudden, everyone starts cheering as Arena has already completed her dagger. Its appearance is marvelous, and an amazing masterpiece has been produced in less than 3 hours. Shin realizes that Arena is remarkably talented, and she wasn't just bragging, though the announcer displays the dagger's characteristics. The Dagger of Bewitchment, which is an epic-rated tool with a durability of 60-60, enhancing attack power of 122-127, and attack speed plus 8%. The announcer announces that probably Arena is the actual winner. Shin tells himself to not be distributed and concentrate on his dagger only. Khan praises Arena, however he knows Shin's dagger is the best, and Shin chuckles saying his dagger is almost completed, but he is worried that the audience might have a heart attack after seeing this. Before he could announce that he has done crafting his dagger, guards bargain putting a sword on Shin's neck, addressing him as Sinner. They tell everyone that they have received information that he is working with a terrorist, Huroi, and he needs to be arrested immediately. Mr. Khan asks in a shocking way if Huroi is actually caught. He sees Valmont sighing, smirking, and saying what a pity. Khan realizes that Valmont is behind this as he knew he couldn't win and mobilizes the guards. Shin kept explaining convincingly why he would work with Huroi and they should let him go, but no one does anything. Rabbit, on the other hand, examines Shin's dagger thinking he has seen all sorts of items while working in the company for 20 years, but this is an incredible item that Irina's dagger can't rival, and it's not Shin's, but their loss actually. Valmont interrupts his thought, saying they almost had the tables turned on them by an amazing guy, as this is an astounding item. Rabbit looks at him and hesitantly says that even Valmont realizes it as well. And did he order guards himself? He says that they will lose the public's support if they announce a winner in this situation. Valmont scoffs, telling Rabbit that the audience will be more convinced if Irina's dagger wins, and questions him if he really thinks Valmont will give up on that smithy. Valmont orders him to take that dagger with them. They can't have its properties revealed. Rabbit thinks with those skills, it wouldn't be far-fetched to call Shin the continent's greatest blacksmith, and recalls his name, Grid. Meanwhile, Irina comes and inspects Shin's item, saying if they had finished the game, she'd have lost. However, the game ended with the audience support on her side, and she has accomplished the company's goal, so she will have to receive her reward. Rabbit tells her that he has kept his promise and clears the quest. The quest displays the rewards Irina has earned: 1,500 gold, the title Competitor, the stats Fighting Spirit, and Luck, and the skill Rolling Dice. This skill increases attack power and enhances mental state as health decreases. Stat points cannot be allocated to Fighting Spirit. Rolling dice, roll a die, and a phenomenon will occur, depending on the number that is rolled. If the target is yourself or an ally, 4 or higher will have a beneficial effect. 3 or lower will have a harmful effect. If the target is an enemy, 3 or lower will have a beneficial effect. 4 or higher will have a harmful effect. After getting happy about her rewards, Irina, aka Euphemina, says to Rabbit that Shin acted like he was wronged as he was taken away, though Rabbit tells her that what has happened has happened. Irina thinks that he had the worst personality ever, but she did want to know of his true identity. Rabbit says that he probably didn't know he would face an ordinary civilian in a smithy contest either, and further says that Irina's basics were very crude, but she had the same movements as Khan and questions her if she has some sort of copying skill. Irina doesn't answer his question, so Rabbit continues saying that one day, the Marrow Company will get prosecuted by Earl Stein for its greed. That is why he is thinking of leaving the company and giving himself another chance at success. He says that Khan's smithy could create that opportunity, as that is what he has learned from watching Grid and his skills. When his connections and resources become vast, he will rival small and medium-sized companies with just his crafting skills. Irina says that even the top merchant ranker, Bega, is just the owner of a small company, so Grid was that amazing of a man. Rabbit sighs and looks at Irina and says to her that there is a proposal. Will she help him rescue Grid? It's a quest. The notification shows the details. Help Rabbit's job-seeking plans. Help Rabbit rescue Grid and cause the downfall of the Marrow Company and Winston's Lord. Clear conditions: Grid's rescue, the fall of the Marrow Company, and Winston's Lord. Clear rewards: 5,000 golds, max affinity with Rabbit and Winston's residence. Quest failure: Level 2, Rabbit's death. All quests associated with Rabbit will be permanently erased. Will Irina accept this quest? Irina smirks seeing the details of the quest. As soon as she gets involved with him, she gets a title and an S-grade quest. She will definitely help. In another environment, the residents gather together with Mr. Khan, protesting that they will find freedom with their own hands. In an instant, Valmont arrives there, and fear spreads among the residents, although Khan confronts him, saying Valmont manipulated the game and tried to take over the village. However, he should fear people's anger. Valmont smirks, asking the guard, Philipson, if the Lord should fear the rebels too. Philipson replies calmly, he shouldn't. They must subjugate them immediately. Valmont looks straight in Khan's eyes and tells him just to hand over the smithy and get captured obediently, and even he wants to end it and go to bed. He orders the guards to arrest the rebellion's ringleader, Khan. In the dungeon, Huroi has been captured, and he mumbles that where is he and how many days it has been. Mongolian branch manager Park Yoon-hyuk examines him outside the game, knowing Huroi's electroencephalogram is too unstable, and at this rate, they can't guarantee Alan-Batar's health. Things may get dangerous if they don't log him out immediately, though he already spent 48 hours. But the manager says that they now have to enter the stage of protecting and helping his efforts. Though the other people working there aren't supporting the manager, saying he can't leave the company's fate in hands of a low-level user like Grid. However, manager Yoonhyuk tells them, due to Grid's arrest, he is already closer to Huroi in the dungeons now. He knows even though this is a desperate moment, he believes that something is going to happen. Shin may be a low-level user with irredeemable greed, but his persistence is the real thing, and he bets the remaining 2 hours on him. In the Winston Castle's dungeons, one of the guards, Leo, questions Shin about who hired him and threatens him with killing him. Though Shin is fearless and dares him to kill him because if he stays imprisoned and loses the competition, Khan might die from the grief of losing Smithy, but if Leo kills him, he will respawn and return to Khan's side. The other guard tells Leo to calm down, as Shin's body is immortal and plans on taking him to solitary confinement. Shin realizes the situation is worse because he will be in prison, so he won't be able to play the game, and Khan will be in danger. So he decides that he will tell them everything and asks them to remove the gag. Shin obviously has a gag on, so the guards don't really understand what he is saying or want to say. So they put him in the prison till he speaks, although he wants to speak. Instantly, the quest, Apostle of Justice, has been generated. The Apostle of Justice is the quest of rescuing Huroi. The clear condition is to rescue Huroi within 7 hours. Clear reward includes the title of Apostle of Justice, a link quest where he can partner up with Huroi. The Apostle of Justice opens the Courage stat, all stats plus 10, while generating the skill Unbreakable Justice. Quest failure will be level 2 and the title Coward. Coward reduces the affinity with the NPCs, reduces the probability of acquiring quests, and he will be despised by NPCs with a positive inclination. Shin remembers he has seen this quest, and it is from the quest Huroi revealed to him. But either way, he got captured as well, and he can't rescue him in 7 hours. When he sees the penalty, he plans on not doing such a crappy quest, but when he begins to decline it, a notification pops up telling him he cannot refuse the quest, and the quest gets accepted. 3 hours have passed, and Shin is hopeless, thinking he knew there was no way such luck and fortune would come to him for free, and thinks that he has never found nor picked up a single cent for 26 years. He gets frustrated thinking he wants to punch the goddess of luck, but all of a sudden he hears the voice of a woman calling out his name. When he goes to the door of the prison, he gets the notification of 2 hours being left in completing the quest, so he starts making noises even with the gag to get the attention of the lady, realizing it's none other than Irina. Irina finds him and tells him that she will get him out of there, but she has a condition that he will make her an orb and will stop calling her a kid, and tells him that her name is Euphemina, making him realize that she created an alias. Shin agrees to her, and she releases him, handing him the dagger he made. Shin looks at her with suspicion and asks her why she came to help, and how did a blacksmith get in here. Irina disclosed that she is not a blacksmith and is a hidden class duplicator, and even confronts that she duplicated Khan's skills during the competition. Shin doesn't believe it, as he heard only 3 people were there with those hidden classes, and realizes she is one of the 3. Shin asks her why she revealed her identity to him even though she made an alias and all to hide it. Irina hums and tells him it is because they will get to know each other soon enough and asks him, "Don't you also have a hidden class? At least a unique grade?" Shin gets in shock as he understands that she already knows and asks her if she likes him in sarcasm. Though Irina tells him to stop talking nonsense and tells him that she doesn't know what class he has, but he has to fight properly now. Otherwise, they both will die. All the guards are gathered to attack them. There are more than 100. Irina tells him that she has dealt with 100 of them before, so he just needs to assist her to survive. Shin thinks that he only has 1 dagger on him. Even if he wants to help, he cannot. But when he sees the characteristics of the dagger, he gets shocked. The dagger is a unique weapon with a durability of 168-168, with an attack power of 242-264, and an attack speed bonus of plus 11%. This dagger offers a rare chance of instantly killing the target, with a plus 20 boost to agility. It also generates 2 skills, Wind Blast and Quick Movements. Notifications inform Shin that this is an item he crafted, so the understanding is 100%. Penalties will be applied as he doesn't meet the requirements, and there will be a reduction of 20% in attack power and half of the option effects. Instantly, the guards start attacking him, though Shin uses his Wind Blast skill with his dagger, making all the guards sprawl back on the ground. Irina is impressed by Shin's skill, though Shin tells her to stop spectating and do something too. Irina smiles, telling him that other than rescuing him, the rest is the extra work for her. And moreover, her skills are a bit costly. Shin groans in frustration, telling her it isn't the situation to be stubborn. Notification informs Shin that 1 hour and 25 minutes are left to complete the quest, while other guards take their position to attack Shin. Shin convinces Irina to help him as he can't face all of them on his own, and he even has to save someone else too. Irina tells him that she saved Khan, though Shin tells him he is talking about Huroi and is relieved when he hears that Khan is safe. Irina asks him who Huroi is and says she doesn't want to get involved with strangers. Shin gets more frustrated, telling her he is also tired of getting involved, and she needs to help her right now, and addresses her as Kid in anger. Irina gets angry and uses her Spear of Destruction skill, making everyone scared, even Shin. Shin realizes that Irina is very powerful even though she didn't even chant, and she can definitely rival Yura. Irina looks at Shin with anger, telling him she will let this kid thing slide right now because they need to save someone, but she will really love it if he doesn't call her kid anymore. Shin chuckles nervously, telling her he has committed a sin and won't do it again, and addresses her as ma'am now. After Irina uses her skill, both Shin and Irina go down the stairs. They wonder how far they have to go, as they thought B3 was the lowest floor, but they actually have to go to B4. Shin gets the notification of the quest ending in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Shin notices the time, and as tension rises in his mind, he asks Irina if she is sure that Huroi isn't on floors B1 and B2, to which Irina replies that while searching for Shin, she didn't find such a user, and from a trustworthy person, she got to know that there is another floor, B4, though she doesn't know which way it is. Before they could figure it out, they heard voices of guards telling each other that both Shin and Irina were headed towards the downward floors. Shin tells Irina to hurry up and just move forward towards the left for now. There is a flower in that corridor that Irina tries to touch, though Shin tells her not to because everything in this corridor is attached and the traps are visible in plain sight. Irina chuckles and touches the flower though because she found it pretty. Shin moves backward in a second and gets saved by one of the traps. Irina doesn't listen to him and keeps touching the things, opening the traps. Shin gets frustrated and asks Irina what part of him she doesn't understand that these are actual traps and not some toys. Irina tells him that they need to activate them in advance to proceed safely, and in the first place, this is an additional task, so she won't listen to him. Before he could respond, the guards arrived at the scene, and Shin, using his skills, made a hole in the ground, telling Irina that it was the easiest way to get downstairs. Meanwhile, she should deal with the guards. Shin tells her to wipe them with a flame spell or something and find Huroi, as he doesn't have armor, so he can't fight them. Shin jumps inside the hole and goes to another floor, but he can see Irina from that floor. Irina tells him if she uses the fire spell in this close space, they will be toast as well. Although he tells her to just help him till the end. Irina uses her Frost Queen breath spell, but it makes Irina realize that no matter how many of them she kills, they keep coming back. And it would be nice to use a wide range of flame spells, but there are 11 spells left from Piero's quest. She won't lose to mere guards, but the problem is that among all those guards, she doesn't see the 5 Knights of Winston. One of the guards guides other guards to separate in a group as he notices Shin escaping, but before they could make their move, Irina uses her Sword of Light spell. After using this spell, only 10 spells are left with her, and even she has a limit, so she thinks that Grid better hurry up. On the other hand, Huroi cries in pain and calls for help as 50 hours have passed in real life. Shin hears Huroi's voice from somewhere, and he follows the voice but runs into a Knight of Winston, Leo, the one who was interrogating him earlier. Leo smirks, saying he heard of Shin's prison break, and if he was working with Huroi, Leo knew he would come here to rescue Huroi. Shin knows a knight is at least level 180 and worries about his next move, though Leo provokes him, and Shin's Blacksmith's rage skill activates. Shin gets notified from the game that his attack power and attack speed have greatly increased for 20 seconds, and his agility and evasion rate have greatly increased for 1 minute as well. Leo attacks him so fast that Shin barely blocks his attack but somehow tackles it, although if he didn't have a dagger, he would have been finished. Leo's anger doubles as his attack wasn't successful, and he chants a spell saying, "I shall be angered no more with my fatal flame sword. Die." In an instant, flames erupt, and Shin sprawls back on the floor. A notification pops up telling him he has suffered 17,000 damages, and since his health has reached the lowest possible amount, a legend doesn't die easily. Activated, he will resist all attacks for 5 seconds. In the meantime, Shin drinks his potion, and when he stands up to look at Leo and why he is not attacking, he sees him being burnt, and that is when he remembers what Irina said about using flame spells in the small space. It will get them toasted too. That's exactly what happened to Leo. Shin smirks, looking at Leo like that. Shin gets the notification that he defeated a Knight of Winston, and he even achieved a title, Knight Slayer. He even obtains a prison key and gains levels too. Now Shin is in level 45. He celebrates his victory, and as he opens the door of the prison where Huroi is, he gives him a warm smile and says he was planning to punch Huroi, but he looks like he is at his death door. Huroi is in disbelief and realizes that Shin is his savior. Both Huroi and Shin get notified of the quest being cleared. Huroi gets a notification. He has acquired the second-class Apostle of Justice's partner. The courage stat has been opened. The skill, Sacrifice for Justice, has been generated. He even has acquired the title, One Who Overcomes Hardships. The Indomitable stat has been opened. The skill, Strong Will, has been generated too, and Shin gets the notification that he has acquired the title, Apostle of Justice. The Courage stat has been opened. All stats plus 10. The skill, Unbreakable Justice, has been generated. His reputation in Winston has peaked, and he has maximum affinity with the Winston residents. Huroi, being overwhelmed, kneels down in front of Shin and says that as long as he helped him end the quest, his loyalty is Shin's, and he is Dam Ulaanbaatar, the descendant of the Blue Wolf. He further says that by putting the name Apostle of Justice Partner on the line, he will follow Shin and repay this debt. Shin looks at him with a blank expression, thinking maybe being imprisoned for this long got into his head or something. The Duplicator, someone who can copy skills and gain the benefits of classes, can be seen as the most useful class out of them all. With the correct combination of skills, they can defeat a boss alone or become a one-man army. However, they can only duplicate 3 skills a day, and each skill only has a single use. They only have 9 basic skills, and none of them are combat-oriented. Finally, the Duplicator has poor physical abilities. Taking these into account, a Duplicator with a large supply of skills can become the strongest. But once the skills are used up, Euphemina will be at her weakest state. All the people in the dungeon are in a state of shock as Euphemina defeats hundreds of soldiers on her own. There are elite knights left, and she has used almost all of her skills, but thanks to that, people there won't approach her carelessly to attack. There was a huge explosion earlier, and Arena thinks, seeing how Grid hasn't come yet, it means he is dead. She doubts that even if he has saved Huroi, will he even come back there to save Arena? The guards think of ending things here, meaning killing Arena, and then they will think about what will happen to the Grid, as there are still the Lord's bodyguards upstairs. Irina knows things are getting bad for her, and there are 3 spells she has left, and those are of fire attributes, though she will end up killing herself if she uses those in that enclosed space. The guards attack her, and it is a pincer attack, so Irina uses her basic skill, and at the same time regrets trusting Grid as he didn't come back to save her. All of a sudden, Irina collapses on the floor, making the guards wonder if maybe she is out of power, and it is the payback of hundreds of people she killed. The guards point the sword at her, though she looks straight into his eyes while being fearless and thinks that it isn't over yet. Although she thinks she is finished or she is unlucky, Irina tries casting a spell of rolling dice, and the game notifies her that if the target is herself or an ally, 4 or higher will have a beneficial effect. 3 or lower will have a harmful effect. If the target is an enemy, 3 or lower will have a beneficial effect, and 4 or higher will have a harmful effect. Suddenly, a voice breaks in. It is Shin, aka Grid, calling the guards self-proclaimed righteous knights and mocking them for ganging up against a girl. Irina smiles and takes a sigh of relief that Grid has finally come through, though he is a little late. The guards realize that if he is here, then it means he has already defeated Leo the Northern Nova. Shin smirks, telling them that he doesn't know about any Nova, but he definitely defeated a swine and laughs mockingly, asking them if they really thought they could injure a single strand of his hair. When the opponent's level is higher by 30 or more, NPCs instinctively recoil. They are falling back so much so it makes Irina wonder just how high Shin's level is. Though the guard gets furious, the other guard tells him that they need to be wary, because seeing how confidently Leo killed him, it means he is clearly someone they need to be wary of. Shin threatens them to get out of his way, or they will end up like Leo. Huroi admires the fact that he originally looked so pathetic, but now even those knights are afraid of him. Shin tells the guards that they will be dead not by him, but by Irina, though Irina gives side-eye to him, telling him she can't really do it right now. Listening to it, the knight tries attacking Shin, though Huroi comes in between, taking the attack, but nothing happens to him because he is armored, and he gets a notification that his strong will skill is activated, and it will resist any attack for 10 seconds after using this skill. Mana cost, 200, and the cooldown limit is 23 hours and 30 minutes. Both Grid and Irina get in shock wondering how Huroi tackled that attack, although Huroi tells them to run away as he will hold them back since he decided to pay back this debt his whole life. The guards try stopping them, but Huroi activates the Orator skill, Spiteful Tongue. He abuses them and makes the opponent's stats lower and uses the skills, Unbreakable Justice, dealing with 300% of his physical attack power, but it doesn't do anything as he was just bluffing. The guards tie him up, but Huroi thinks that the quest is already cleared. He can log out with no repercussions, and it seems like Winston's City Lord is finished. Huroi smiles, thinking he can finally rest now after 50 hours, and wishes good fortune for Grid. As Shin and Irina escape the dungeon, Shin exclaims in excitement that they finally escaped, but Irina tells him to shut his voice as they are still in the middle of enemy territory. They still need to escape from the castle, If the knights down there start cooperating with the Lord's bodyguards, things can get difficult. Although Shin lays down on the ground and moves here and there happily and makes Irina frustrated, she holds him by his collar and tells him to shut up, or else she will kill him. As they both are fighting, the Lord of Winston, Baron Lowe, arrives there with his soldiers. He addresses both of them as criminals as they defeated all those soldiers and knights. He orders his soldiers to kill both of them, because if he lets them get away, he won't be able to stop the citizens from reporting to Earl Steim, and if that happens, he is finished. Shin tells Euphemina to get rid of them, though Euphemina gives him side-eye, thinking about how long he will act so weak. She uses her skill, Demon King's Tailfire, as they are not in a small space, so she can use it now. With a strike, she defeats all the soldiers, and the knight is sprawled back on the ground, and he shivers in fear, thinking that maybe it is possible that his bodyguards were weak as they were annihilated in one hit. Euphemina walks towards Baron and says she was feeling irritated from losing all the skills she was saving, and because of a certain man who loves to annoy people. She is referring to Shin, and she thanks Baron for helping her get rid of the stress. She asks him to follow them outside the castle. As they get out of the castle, they spot Rabbit standing there, and Baron thinks that Rabbit is there to save him. Shin groans in frustration as he thinks that Rabbit is still working for Marrow Company, and their fight is still not over. Rabbit praises Euphemina, so Shin doubts her as well that maybe it was a trap as she even worked with the Marrow Company. Shin looks at his stats. He has 4 titles, even though those are hard to acquire, and when he looks at the guys with Rabbit and Rabbit himself, he thinks that they have around 10 subordinates, and they aren't even armed, and thinks that he is not armed himself, so he must increase his attack power and defense with his remaining stat points. He gets notification that he has invested 150 stat points in strength, and his strength is now 316, and stamina is 334, as he spent 90 stat points on it. He thinks that even though he has no chance of winning, still he has no choice. Although Grid is nervous, even after increasing his stats, he has unknowingly become very strong. An ordinary level 45's total stat points should be under 500. However, Grid's stat points totaled more than 1,300. Once he equips his ideal dagger, Grid is stronger than a level 100 combat class fighter. However, his experience of facing overwhelmingly stronger opponents had sprouted hesitation within him. All of a sudden, Shin's thoughts are interrupted when he hears Baron screaming at Rabbit and asking if he has lost his mind as he reveals that he is not working with the Marrow Company anymore, and tells Baron that he is about to punish him and Valmont for their deeds. Baron calls Rabbit a mere merchant, acting like an apostle of justice, though Rabbit scoffs, saying he is a merchant. That is why he is obviously acting with profit in his mind, and he further says that he will bet everything on Grid, because with Shin's skills, Shin will be able to create incredible luxuries, but on his own, he won't be able to gain the potential of profits. Rabbit says to Shin that if he joins Rabbit, he is confident that they will become bigger and greater than small and medium-sized enterprises. Shin takes a sigh of relief that it wasn't a trap, but questions Rabbit why he raised the flag of rebellion against the Lord and the company. So Rabbit replies that it is because their business will start at Khan's smithy, the symbol of Winston. Both Euphemina and Rabbit leave, but before leaving, Rabbit tells Shin that he will inform Shin of the details after they have dealt with the company, and he will definitely make Shin very rich. And Euphemina reminds him of making orbs for him, to which Shin tells her that he remembers it. She just has to get the materials and production method for him. Rabbit and Euphemina leave, and Shin thinks of logging but is happy about the silver lining and him being rich. Both Rabbit and Euphemina talk while walking, and she tells him that Shin has the capability to defeat the knights and makes Rabbit realize that blacksmiths aren't that strong. It means he is a Pagma descendant. Rabbit thinks that, however, the honorable vision Shin had as a merchant came to pass. The Marrow Company fell under Euphemina and Rabbit's actions, and the company and the Lord's misdeeds were revealed to Earl Steim. Valmont and Baron Lowe were sent to the frontier, and this entire affair ended when Earl Steim ordered their executions. However, during these events, Rabbit was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He hadn't predicted that Earl Steim would be a stern figure, and wouldn't forgive the entirety of the Marrow Company. Rabbit thinks that although he managed to keep his life, however, he has successfully decorated a single page of a future legend's biography. Once the tyrants were overthrown, the village of Winston quickly recovered its original activity. Therefore, the second in command of the company, the world's most beautiful lady, and one young blacksmith brought back peace to Winston. And this story linked back to the seed from the Yatan Temple, as Earl Steam appointed his daughter, Irene, as the new Lady of Winston. Breaking news spread worldwide to all users of Satisfy. The very first second class of Satisfy has emerged. The USA researchers say that the SA group said that they aren't willing to disclose information about the second class. The UK researcher says that she received information that the user is from Mongolia. China's researcher says that the A group is trying to dominate the world using the game, and they should stop people from playing Satisfy. Japan's researchers talk about a Japanese person who obtained a certain epic class, and they say that with a second class, you gain access to a wider variety of weapons to choose from, along with new skills and stats. Shin watches all the news and gets jealous of the person who achieved that class, wondering who that lucky person is. At the dinner table, Shin announces that he won't be going to the labor office anymore, and it makes his father furious, as he doesn't want him to spend his days being unemployed. His sister also judges him, and his mom just gets disappointed, saying that he has debts to pay. Shin sighs and excitedly tells them that it is not the case and he is playing as a blacksmith in the game, so he can sell the items to produce money. He even tells them that a great merchant said he'd help Shin, so he might make the same amount as a CEO's salary. His father and mother get furious, and his sister tells him to get back to real life because if he could actually make money through games, he wouldn't be swimming in debts. Shin tries convincing them that he even got the legendary class, but his father screams and tells him to shut up and even orders him to go to the labor office. Later, he thinks that only money is his main problem, and he should accept Rabbit's proposal. With the knowledge of the large company's second in command, and by using Khan's smithy as a comfortable base of operations, he can create the results and will convince his parents. The next morning, he logs into the game and meets Khan. He says to Khan that it looks so peaceful around here and asks if Rabbit came by. Khan realizes that Shin didn't know what happened and nervously chuckles, and he gives him a letter that is by Rabbit. The letter goes by Mr. Grid. I did not get pardoned due to my previous sins while in the company. Therefore, our business plans ended up going down the drain. However, with Khan's help, you can become the richest man if you use your skills correctly. I pray that I will get to hear of your legendary feats from far away. Khan tells Shin that the Earl Steim said that a complete pardon wouldn't be possible. Shin screams, groans, and collapses on the ground, thinking he is finished, but Khan consoles him and tells him that he has a proposal too. Khan tells him that he will hand Shin the smithy, because he has earned the right to receive his smithy since he protected it from the Marrow Company, and once he becomes old, it will be an honor for him to have Pagma's descendant receive this smithy. Shin thinks that he has never heard of anyone receiving a business from an NPC, so he chuckles nervously and tells Khan that he will believe him if he signs a contract with him. He gets the contract and notification of Shin obtaining the position of Smithy's successor. He gets overwhelmed and cries, thinking he will have to work harder now, and Khan tells him to get ready for becoming the smithy's owner. In the auction house, Jashuka searches for the Jaffa arrows but is not able to find them and thinks even though blacksmiths generally make a few thousand arrows each time. She thinks that maybe another guild already found him because he disappeared after putting up a mere 99 for auction. She gets furious, and in the guild chat tells everyone that if they don't find the user within 1 month, they will undergo hell of a training as they have to find them if a small guild like them has to become stronger. Vantner logs into the game and tells Jashuka about what happened in the village of Winston. There was an item production competition between users in the village, and among the 2 users, one of them crafted an epic-grade dagger within 3 hours. She realizes it's him, the guy they have been searching for so long, and orders everyone to head to Winston as soon as possible because that is where they will find that user, and even tells them that the last one to arrive will die. The second son of Jin, a prominent Japanese conglomerate, ID, Cats, with a level of 216 and a unified ranking of 40, has defeated a poison pioneer, earning 543,500 experience points. After a few moments, he even killed the closed-off pioneer, acquiring 617,000 experience. He is the third-class epic warrior. This epic class's attack power and duration were specialized in hunting. However, his unified ranking was rising at high speeds thanks to his high tenacity, and his special class's effects hadn't increased at all this past month, no matter how much he hunted. Katz gets frustrated that he can't reach level 1, no matter how hard he tries, and wonders if his skills are too poor. His elder and younger brothers are gaining ground on him in their fight to be the successor, so he can't himself be a loser in that game as well. He thinks that he needs to go to hunting grounds with higher-level enemies. He has enough money, so he will just need to preserve using advanced potions, but there isn't any high-grade equipment on item trading sites. 1 month later, in the frontier, the capital city of Steim Earldom, Euphemina was also in deep thought at the auction house. She can't seem to find production methods for orbs, as it is so difficult to find production methods for high-grade items, even though she has been looking for a month. She did get 6,500 gold for clearing the quest, but can't find uses for it. Suddenly, she tells them to reveal themselves, and she knows someone is hiding behind the pillar. Thanks to her class trait, her detection skills are quite high, but she is getting monitored even though she didn't reveal her name on the ranking list as a secret ranker. Faker, Zedekah guild member Assassin Ranker 1, wonders how a single blacksmith detected his presence. After receiving information about the item competition, Their entire guild is gathering right now, and because of the numerous eyewitnesses, they quickly manage to find the winner of the game, the rumored blacksmith, Irina. Faker was planning on watching Irina from a distance until Jishuka arrived, but she detected his presence despite his level 7 stealth skill. Instantly, Irina uses her skill and tries attacking them as they weren't coming out. So they move away from the pillar and get on the ground to save themselves from the attack. They wonder how a blacksmith can use top-level magic in doubt, if they have found the correct one they are looking for, and think it's a trap laid by a guild that is also going after the special Jaffa arrows creator. They are trying to deter them by using fake news, and the item competition may have been made up from the start, and their Tzedakah guild may be tricked. They ask her what guild she is a part of, though Irina gets frustrated and uses her lightning spell, making them shocked as she uses such power without chanting, but suddenly with a blow, Fake attacks him. And Irina realizes that it is the first time she got hit by someone after becoming a duplicator. But Irina eliminated Fake's clone with one hit. She uses the Ancient Queen's Knight spell. Fake gets shocked that she summoned a familiar even though she isn't a summoner. A knight is the worst matchup to an assassin who mainly fights using steel. No matter how much Faker tries, they can't tackle Irina because she is at her strongest state. Faker thinks that Irina has an overwhelming advantage even against 4 high rankers. She is like the absolute power that they have dreamt of. Jishuka arrives there thinking everything's gone. And who were they even fighting? Jishuka's guild member informs her that Aaron single-handedly defeated 4 guild members, including Faker. Apparently, she used all kinds of skills from different classes. Jishuka realizes Irina might be a user of a hidden class. Jishuka gets angry, fists her hand, and tells everyone to find her as she dared to lay a hand on her guild and plans on annihilating her and her backers. Khan suggests Grid take a little rest first and asks if he really doesn't get tired easily, to which he replies that he has been hammering for a whole month now, and he is used to it. He also says that he has learnt a few things, and the first thing is that no one gets a lot of experience by making the same item repeatedly. And the second thing he mentions is that there are 2 requirements for making a high-class item. The first is to use good material, and secondly, if not using good material, then put a lot of time into the making of it. He further adds that working with heavy ore requires dexterity, but strength and stamina are as important as other factors. He appreciates himself and realizes that his stamina and stats are pretty good and have increased more than 30 points since he started making items. He further realizes that it was also hard leveling up his item production skills, but he still manages it. But he worries about one problem, which is that although he has spent over 6 hours on every item that he ever created, and by that time, he has already made 73 items, he has only been able to make only 3 epic items. He thinks that at least he has a list of the created items. He is thankful that the lessons he took to become the Khan's successor helped him get dozens of blueprints. He gets emotional and realizes that thinking of all the circumstances he had to go through to get those blueprints makes him cry. Just then it hits his mind that he hasn't heard from the brat, even though he asked him to make the orb. To think that he'd be getting a blueprint and the materials for a unique orb free of charge, he realizes that she is scary, but she also gave him a great opportunity. Suddenly he stresses that what if he makes a normal class orb instead of a unique one, because he is also getting a blueprint and the material for free. He worries that the brat will kill him, as she is more capable of doing this. Just then, Rook with a guy shows up and asks if this is the Khan's smithy, and as he sees Grid, he asks him if he is Khan the blacksmith. Khan comes and agrees and introduces himself and asks how he can help him. Rook says that he has heard that Khan the blacksmith was in an item forging match against someone called Irina, to which Khan agrees. Furthermore, the guy starts asking if she was a proper blacksmith or if he saw her forge the items herself. Khan replies hesitantly that he doesn't understand what they're getting at, but she was a great blacksmith and questions them, asking who these people are and who gave them permission to barge in and start questioning. Rooks gets furious and asks if that means the only party involved in that match, besides him, was Marrow Company. Rook rudely asks him to hurry up fast, as they don't have all day. Grid gets annoyed at their rudeness, as even though Khan is an NPC, he is also a person with feelings. How can they disrespect him? Grid snaps at them and asks who gave them the right to interrogate Khan like that. Rook asks Grid who he is, to which he replies that he works here. The other guy with Rook suggests he be calm and asks Khan that they need to know more about Irina, and they find out that one of his successors also took part in the competition, so they ask what he knows about her. Khan replies that all they know about Irina is that she was their opponent in the match. Grid realizes that they have no clue that he is Khan's successor. Just then, the guy with Rook suggests they head back as there is nothing here. Grid gets annoyed and asks them to leave while cursing them. In the meantime, a customer comes and asks Khan to show him some of his items. The customer mentions that his products have been quite popular these days. Grid realizes that Khan sells his items for him with 0 commission, and soon he will be loaded with cash. At SA Group headquarters, the management team is discussing an email Grid sent about how they manipulated the success rates. One of the team members calls Ms. Choi to look at it and stresses that the success rate should be leveling up, so what is happening? Ms. Choi replies that this player is a legendary class player, but he doesn't know anything at all. The member says that if he did use legendary skills to craft those 73 items, and he still only got 3 epic items, he is kind of justified in questioning them. Ms. Choi says she'd prefer it if it was an error or manipulation on their side. Back there, Grid realizes that while working for about 5 to 6 hours daily, he sells 73 level 60 armor and weapons, earning a profit of about 1,079 gold and 1,294,800 in cash. So if he works all day, he could even make more. He thinks even after all this, why do his parents look down on him? To prove them wrong, he decides to sell the ideal dagger, but the market is not set yet, which means he can't sell it there. Instead, he is thinking of going to the employment agency. On his way, he finds a brochure saying that there is a 30% discount on a capsule room where he can spend his mornings and evenings and go home to play at night. He rushes to get there, thinking of his new workplace. He gets excited and says, "This is Shin Young-woo's first day as a full-time blacksmith." Meanwhile, at Khan's place, there is a huge crowd shouting to get those items. Someone comments that there aren't any more items made by the unnamed master. One of them asks Mr. Khan where he could find this master so he could make him craft something for him. But Mr. Khan refuses to tell them. Even after that day, players swarmed Khan's smithy to meet Grid, but no one was able to recognize this humble player who was hammering away. Grid appreciates himself that he is connecting online from a capsule room for 15 hours a day, and he is forging twice as many items as he used to. Grid has made a level 120 plate armor forged according to Khan's blueprint, which is the most expensive thing he has ever made. He used a total of 483 gold on it and utilized his 20 hours on this work. He wants this one to be a legendary class item, and if not a legendary one, then at least a unique item. But unluckily, it is an epic class item. Grid is disappointed that his life is screwed. At this point, Khan the blacksmith comes, and he is appreciating Grid that he forged an item that is comparatively better than Khan's own. Grid asks Khan about how much he thinks he can sell this item for. Khan says it's hard to tell, but he thinks this should be good enough to put out at the night's auction, as he has seen the quality of armor they wear, and the one Grid made is similar to that. Grid realizes that he didn't think of this. This item got a 20% increase in stats just because of his skills, and it also has an option effect. Khan asks him to travel to the castle himself, but he won't be charged any fees, so it's a great opportunity for him. Grid considers it, as there are no fees, then it's worth a try. Khan asks Grid that there are still 2 days left in the auction, then why doesn't he forge a couple more items? Grid takes this as a great idea, and is confident enough that he will make a legendary item this time. 2 days later, Khan is wishing Grid a safe journey and tells him not to be disheartened, as he still forged some amazing items. Khan gives Grid his mark and tells him that the one who qualifies can participate in this auction. He wishes him that it will be a great experience for him and asks him not to expect much, just try to have fun. The auction at Winston Castle is held to identify new outstanding blacksmiths in the area. Grid gets surprised as he has never seen this many blacksmiths before. He thinks that he won't be at a shortage of employees once he becomes the owner of Khan's smithy. An announcement is made that the auction will begin soon, and to submit the listing by setting a minimum price. Grid decides to submit the plate armor and gauntlet first, but he stresses as he doesn't know how to set an appropriate price. Just then, Steng, a blacksmith, comes and asks Grid if he wants some help as he participates in the auction for the first time. Grid finds him familiar. He tells him that he is finding it difficult to set a price. Steng shows him the shared quest. Grid asks him why he's not submitting his own work, to which he replies that he's afraid that his items won't stand a chance of selling at an auction like this. Steng asks Grid to show him his items too, but he refuses and asks just to tell him an appropriate price for a level 120 item. He says 300 gold for a normal class item, and in the case of epic items, then 600 gold for a gauntlet and 1800 gold for armor. Grid is surprised to realize that 1,800 gold translates to 2,880,001 in cash. Even after excluding all material costs, the net profit comes out to 2,000,001, which is equivalent to a week's worth of time in a capsule room. He gets excited realizing that soon he will be debt-free. He goes for registration. Now comes the time when the auction ends. The person announcing says this auction was quite disappointing. Only 3 items were up to their standards. Luckily, the last item was exceptional in quality, which was the sword brought by Steng, Razban's apprentice. Everyone starts putting the prices. Meanwhile, they announce there are a few more items left, Steng wakes up Grid and tells him that they are now announcing the bidding results. The lady says that 110 items were listed today, from which only 6 items won this year. Claris's necklace is sold for 453 gold. Greth's inner armor is sold for 189 gold. Piglet's potion is sold for 15 gold each, and Steng's longsword is sold for 1900 gold. The lady makes the last announcement for Mr. Grid that the administrator wants to have a word with him. Steng wishes him good luck, and then Grid goes to the administrator's office. The administrator appreciates him for being very experienced, despite his young age. He says Khan must be an excellent mentor for him, where Grid becomes annoyed and says that these skills are his own, not Khan's. The administrator says that he will buy his items for 5,500 gold, and also asks Grid if he can make equipment for all his soldiers. Grid gets startled that 5,500 means 6,600,000 in cash, which is worth 73 days of work at the employment agency. Grid says they can't afford to make all the equipment for your soldiers as the smithy is quite busy. Grid learns one thing that day, that even if it takes more time, higher level gear is worth a lot more. He thinks that he should not waste time making mediocre stuff, so he should refuse his offer. Instead, the administrator asks him to make the gear for his knights only, but he expects the quality of the equipment to be on par with that of the items you listed today. He also says that this must be difficult, so he can offer you a 10% bonus on each item. But Grid must promise the quality of work. Grid refuses his offer as he realizes this will lead him to a penalty, but after some more discussion, he ends up taking his offer. He is thinking that 2 of the 3 items he forged were epic. He spent 20 hours on each item, so 1 week will be enough for him to make 3 items. Steng gets happy after getting to know about Grid's deal. Grid gets excited that from today onwards, he will be rich. This auction became a success for him. For the last few months, Earl Steim had been eager to conquer the Yatan Church and subdue its cultists. The actual trouble starts when Irene, the Earl's daughter, is kidnapped by the Yatan cultists as a sacrifice for their religious ceremony. During Irene's rescue, Earl Steim loses his most loyal knight, Doran. The situation in the north worsens when Blood Witch Yura appears. Yura says this class quest is everything to her. She will definitely complete it. She wants to become a top-tier ranker. At Winston Castle, Lady Irene is told that 412 casualties and 5 knights are wounded. She asks if they did not outnumber their enemies, so how could we have lost 1,000 soldiers and 8 knights to a mere 150? According to a source, she gets told that there is only one cultist with immense power, and that must be one of the 7 servants. Back to the smithy, Khan tells Grid that although this is a normal item, it's a fine blade. Grid is full of anger, saying that this item is nothing. Khan asks him to calm down, but he is tense because he has to make 3 epic swords, and he is left with only 6 chances, as he had money for 7 swords, one of which is a failure. Khan tells him that he can still sell this for 800 gold, but it costs 950 gold to make. Khan appreciates him, saying that he is working over 20 hours on a sword, and should not lose faith in himself, as working hard will never betray him. Over and over, he is left with only 5 chances. He starts working again. One of the swords is ranked rare, the next one is normal, and so on. After 1 week, Grid has 2 epics, 1 rare, and 3 normal items. Today is Grid's last day, meaning this will be his last sword. Khan motivates him, saying he is Pagma's successor. He must stay strong. Grid thinks that since this is his last chance and forging an epic one in one go is impossible, this might be a failure too. He keeps working on it, and finally, at the end, it becomes a legendary item. Plus 25 permanent boost on all stats. Pulls 1,000 fame across the continent. He earns the title of Only Legendary Item Maker. Grid and Khan both get shocked, and just then, Khan's mouth starts foaming, and Grid shouts that Khan shouldn't die on him. In the castle, Lady Irene receives news that their second army has also been defeated. She asks Sir Phoenix if that was it from one of the 7 servants again, to which he agrees. Miss Irene says to Phoenix that their conquest depends on defeating this one cultist. Sir Phoenix agrees with her but says that unless they have more reinforcements, this would be impossible. She is sure that she will avenge Doran no matter how long it takes. Meanwhile, a man is swimming in the fountain where he finds a gold coin. Suddenly, the administrator comes there and asks for permission to enter. Miss Irene says that this is perfect timing, as there appears to be an odd man in the garden downstairs. He tells her that man is Grid, and she must speak with him right now. The administrator tells her that he is the man to whom they gave the commission for forging swords for their knights. Later, she thanks Grid for what he did and wants to reward him for his work. Grid asks her to give his reward, and at the same time, he finds her very familiar. The administrator shows Ms. Irene the sword Grid made and tells her it is not an ordinary weapon. She gets very shocked by seeing his work. Grid asks her how much she is willing to pay him, as they promised to pay him extra if the quality was great. She gets amazed by his work and realizes that with this, they can defeat the 7 servants. She orders the administrator to buy the sword and decides whatever price he finds good. Ms. Irene asks Grid to look forward to seeing his other works. Grid looks at the ring she is wearing, which feels also familiar to him. He starts liking her already. The man comes to decide the price of the sword with Grid. He offers him 220,000 gold, but Grid misunderstands, thinking he is offering him 22,000. He says each sword costs him 1,000 gold. The man clarifies that they are offering 220,000 gold, emphasizing that this is the best they can offer. Grid is surprised to learn that 220,000 gold translates to 264 million won in cash. Even after paying off his debts, he will still be left with 2 million won. He is very happy and calls this day the end of his 26 years of misfortune. He plans to buy luxury clothes, a car, and even ask his high school crush to go on a date with him. The deal is done, and as a token of thanks, they give him stones of blue orichalcum. Grid already needs 15 of these stones. He feels this day is very lucky for him. He realizes that he will be exempt from taxes when he takes over Khan's smithy. He gets very excited and can't wait to tell his parents about this. But this deal will prove a great loss for him. A couple of months later, a handful of players who fulfill the requirements will appear, and at that point, the legendary class sword will be worth 10 times what he earned today. Full of excitement, he comes home shouting, "Mom! Dad!" But the atmosphere is very gloomy. His mom has tears in her eyes and tells him that his father guaranteed a debt that went wrong, and now they have a debt of 800 million. Grid's father reassures everyone in the room, telling them not to worry. He plans to sell the house and break into his savings, so they will have 400 million to resolve their financial crisis. Grid, however, is feeling an intense wave of tension and anxiety, as he never imagined his father would be shaken like this. His mother, too, gets devastated and says that this money was the money they had saved for Seihi's college education and her eventual wedding. She feels an overwhelming sense of sorrow for her daughter. At that moment, Grid feels unfair and asks in disbelief that what about him, if he is not their child, and if don't he matter as well. Just then, Seihi says that she doesn't need to go to college anymore, and she will get a job part-time instead. They get emotional and start crying while hugging her and asking for apologies. Grid can't help but also realizes that Seihi has always been the top of her class, so it would be a shame for her to give up school for work. Suddenly he says that he will make the money they need. He tells Seihi to continue her studies, promising that he will find a way to resolve everything. Everyone in the room gets shocked and just ignores him. His father says that he'll go and look for a second job, while her mother and sister also decide to get a part-time job. Grid insists them to stop ignoring him, and tells them that he has made a lot of money playing the game, and it is over 200 million. Everyone gets startled as they can't process what they are hearing. Grid decides to rescue his family and proves to them that he is useful for them. Meanwhile, Sir Phoenix has been given the Sword of Self-Transcendence, a symbol of leadership and strength. His task is to annihilate their enemies in the Yatan Church and destroy them. Sir Phoenix makes his commitment for the glory of the North and the House of Steim, vowing that he will return victorious. Lady Irene orders to dispatch the troops and asks Sir Phoenix to make sure that he returns with the heads of the 7 servants. She realizes that although there are only 150 Yatan cultists, one of the 7 is among them, and they can't let their guard down. They have 12 knights and 1,500 soldiers, and with these numbers, Lady Irene is sure that they can win this time. Phoenix, as the strongest knight of the North, steps forward confidently to lead the charge and suggests his troops not to get feared. Meanwhile, a warrior from Yura's troops informs Yura that it seems those heathens have returned. He says that he will crush them and offer them to their god. Yatan, if she takes the ground, they support her with their power. Yura realizes that these followers of the 7 servants are truly evil. She doesn't really want to take on their quests, but she has no other choice unless she gets a hidden class like Agnes or Katsu. Just then, she takes a charge to go forward. As Phoenix sees Lady Yura in the distance, he comments that at least she showed her evil face. He tells her that he will put an end to her wickedness. As the battle begins, Mr. Phoenix manages to block one of Lady Yura's attacks with ease. Yura gets stunned and wonders how a mere knight could shatter and manages to block her diamond barrier, something that even the boss monsters she's faced in the past could not break through. In the midst of the chaos, she casts a black magic spell that puts a single opponent in a state of fear. Phoenix comments on the spell's effectiveness, saying it's a remarkable skill as it even manages to frighten his horse. Yura, however, feels completely helpless in this moment, something she has felt before when she fights against Grid. She feels completely disappointed. On the other hand, back at home, Grid's father asks if he's not doing something illegal. Everyone starts doubting him, but he realizes that they are not wrong even if he wouldn't believe it if his unemployed 26-year-old son brought home that kind of money. Youngwoo reassures everyone that he made it all by playing a game and explains the details. His father tells him that as parents they will nag about playing that game, but if he made that much money then it shows that he has worked hard in his own field. Youngwoo gets happy seeing that they've finally acknowledged him. Haya father thanks him that they will be able to overcome this crisis, and within 3 years they will take care of the debt and also get his 240 million. Youngwoo gets a relief realizing that he is finally able to do something for his family. Grid logs back into the game and decides to get started again. He checks his balance and thinks that he needs to make the best out of his remaining 20,000 gold, so if he forges a normal item with high-level requirements, it'll still be a loss for him since no one can equip it. It'd be nice if he could forge an item that's rare class or higher, however, he doesn't have control over that. He finally decides that he's going to try a new strategy by aiming specifically for level 140 items, even if they're normal class. Grid overhears a girl asking a guy in the crowd if he heard about the army that was sent to conquer the Atan Church, got defeated. She continues that even Sir Phoenix, the strongest knight in the north, was badly wounded. The guy exclaims that the 7 servants must have been really powerful. Grid wonders how everyone's talking about the 7 servants, so he checks his status, wondering how strong they are. Grid's eyes widen in surprise as he sees his own status, and realizes that he's also gotten pretty strong just from forging items as his current stats are already higher than his previous level 80 warrior stats. He thinks that he could even hunt level 100 monsters if he's equipped with the right gear, and sadly wishes that he could hunt like how he used to. He decides to forget about it as he's got a huge debt to pay off. Grid reaches the smithy and starts working when Khan arrives and exclaims how Grid is starting off early, to which he replies that he has to really get to work from now on. Khan calls it an admirable mindset and asks him what he's making. He replies that he's making a blacksmith hammer as his old one was getting a little worn out, so he thought about making a new one. Khan replies that his hammer was indeed a bit too plain, however he thought that Grid was using it because it was special to him. Grid tells him that he was just working with what he had, but Khan gets angry and shouts at him if he is out of his mind because a hammer is a blacksmith's most essential tool. Grid expresses his cluelessness, at which Khan replies disappointingly how he thought that Grid would know it as Pagma's successor, and then shows Grid his hammer. Grid looks at the hammer in appraise as Khan explains that he cannot forge a good item with only good materials and skills, but also requires good equipment. Grid yells at him for not telling this earlier and starts to rebuild the hammer. When Grid looks at the epic class hammer he made, he acknowledges Khan's words and how only he can use it. Khan calls him an interesting lad after looking at him, and asks Grid for a favor to come along with him to visit his son's grave on his death anniversary today. On reaching the graveyard, Grid thinks that however he's an NPC, he is still the only person by his side, so it's only right that Grid do this for him. Khan explains that this is his family graveyard, and shows his son Oliver's grave by telling Grid that Oliver was an outstanding blacksmith, however an illness took him at a very young age. He tells that 10 years have passed, but he still misses him so much, and wishes that he could take his place. Afterwards, Khan addresses Oliver's grave and introduces Grid as Pagma's successor, as Oliver always wanted to meet him. Khan tells his son how he has the honor of working with him, and how he also saved the smithy. Also, how he made Khan quit drinking and will inherit Khan's family business as well. Grid feels uncomfortable at that and tries to speak to Khan while thinking how Satisfy is adamant on making him cry as it all seems so genuine like reality. He places his hand on the gravestone and tells Oliver how his father is a great man as well as his dearest friend. He further promises that when he'll succeed the smithy, he'll make it the best in the world. At once there is a great flash and pop-up displays that his bond with Khan has strengthened and his forefathers have risen to thank him. He turns to Khan, saying how he should see this but spots that Khan has fallen asleep. Grid curses at Khan and starts running away in fear. However, the spirits introduce themselves and tell Grid that they've come to repay Grid for everything he's done. Grid asks for clarification, to which the forefather explains that 130 years ago, he saw a dance so beautiful that it pierced the night sky and brought forth thunder. Mesmerized by its terrifying beauty, he recorded what he had seen in an engraving and hid it in the northern cliffs of Keeson Gorge. Grid's eyes widen in surprise as the spirit tells that Grid might know that dance as Pagma's sword dance. At once, Grid's quest renews to finding clues about Pagma. On looking at it, Grid remembers how he forgot this quest from the last time. The spirit tells Grid that the engraving will help Grid learn more about Pagma's sword dance, and further prays that he'll become a legend greater than even Pagma himself. At last, Oliver says that he is leaving his father in Grid's care, at which Grid replies that he's now in good hands, so don't worry. Khan wakes up and realizes that the sun is already setting, to which Grid says to him how he shouldn't fall asleep in the middle of nowhere, and turns around while standing awkwardly, and tells Khan that he should be more careful from now on. Khan asks Grid in confusion about why he looks so uncomfortable, at which he replies how he saw a ghost, while hiding how he peed himself. Huroy is confused about what to do, or will Grid be pleased to see him, or will he ask him about him being so late? 40 days have passed since Huroi cleared the wait quest. He spent a week in the hospital as the SA group had advised him. He also received the offer of revealing his identity as the first user with a second class, and spent a week trying to decide whether to accept it or not. Then, he was resting and returned to the game 3 days ago. After improving his understanding of his new class, he finally came to Khan's smithy to meet Grid, the one he had sworn to serve. Instantly, Grid opens the door to leave, and Huroi's eyes widen in happiness, and he kneels before him. But Grid grabs his collar and asks him if he knows Grid and questions him about blabbering to the knights about him, even though they are strangers. He reveals that he was disqualified from the competition, locked in jail, got massacred by the knights, and had to follow a crazy, terrifying girl because of him. Huroi kneels down again and apologizes to Grid, addressing Shin as his liege and accepting his faults. Shin notices Huroi calling him that and wonders if he has got his screw loose in his head after spending time in jail. Remembering about him being tortured, Shin tells him to leave and go where he belongs, though Huroi claims that descendants of the Blue Wolf never break their vows, and he belongs next to Grid. Huroi asks him if he is in a guild and asks for allowance to let him join that guild, as he will follow him wherever to serve him. Shin finds him clingy and tells him to get lost as he isn't a part of anything, though Huroi suggests he create his own guild as many people will gather around him due to his heart. Shin thinks within himself that he is busy crafting items that he will use for his next quest, so Huroi should stop bothering him, with anger in his eyes, and tells him to simply leave. Later on, Huroi follows Shin to the forest, knowing that disobeying him is wrong, but descendants of the Blue Wolf never break their vows. While Grid was obtaining misfortune instead of ores on his journey for materials, the world of Satisfy was greatly shaken. The Yatan church subjugation had occurred across the north. At the end of the brutal battle, the power of God, Yatan, had manifested. It was the birth of the eighth servant. Yura had broken through the limits of Black Magician and was approaching her path completion. The game notifies that the influence of the Yatan church is increasing across the continent, and the minimum level of the Yatan believers has risen from 160 to 170. If the Yatan church continues to grow at this pace, it will become large and influential enough to found a country of its own. To hinder the growth of a pseudo-religion that harmed others as sacrifices, dozens of nations united and gave their users a subjugation quest. Black Magician Talos, Yatan church bishop's first servant, screams and calls upon God, Yatan, to show these heretics the might, though Earl Steam, Eternal Kingdom, says that this time they will get rid of all the seeds of the Yatan church in the north. The media analyzes the situation of the Alliance versus the Yatan church and forms different theories. The quest to subdue 25 members of the Yatan church keeps popping up recently, though Shin ignored it. Shin thinks clearing a single-class quest would solve a lot of his problems right now. He has more or less completed rare and epic equipment using the ore he gathered in the last 10 days, but the only problem is with equipment of this level, the Kasan Canyon is still too difficult. It is considered one of the worst areas in the north, and it is also difficult to tread on its uneven terrain. What is even worse are the caves hidden within the canyon. They are packed with monsters at level 160 at least. Shin groans in frustration as he has died a lot of times because of those monsters, though he is stronger than before, but still he doubts himself. Huroi worries as he looks at his liege being so frustrated, though an idea pops into his mind and he makes an item to counter them. Failure is an absurd design. After getting killed over 10 times by the monster in the canyon, he now knows them like the back of his hand, and as long as it's not an unreasonable design, he can make one, and a brand new item was being created. The Eternal Kingdom, one of the 5 forbidden areas, is in Kazan Canyon, a location with countless caves containing level 160 monsters. Grid sits on the wooden rock, thinking he died so many times for Asher's quest over there, and he is still too weak at his current level, but he doesn't even have time to level up since he has to make money to repay his mountainous debts. He has got no choice except for item creation. He thinks of making an item to match the Kasan Canyon's characteristics, and he doesn't need to worry about stamina. Despite those rough terrains, he can recover through his stamina stat. Those level 160 monsters are the problem, as they stay hidden in their caves and jump out on passing adventurers. He needs a weapon at the same rank as the Sword of Self-Transcendence, Grid asks Khan about materials for stealth items. Khan suggests using silver dragon scales and explains that they are a species of dragons that live stealthily. Their scales have a protective coloration that hides them away from humans. Those are perfect for stealth equipment. But Grid wonders how he could even get them. Khan explains that he is pretty certain that humans can't smelt dragon scales in the first place. And among the stealth equipment, the most famous item is the invisible cloak made by Kruger. He is a legendary tailor who was active 200 years ago. There is a northern material he could use for stealth items. Sylphid scales are the scales of small air fairies. Those also have a protective coloration. Dragon scales are so hard that they are classified as ores, but sylphid scales are thin but tough and classified as cloth. Therefore, making stealth items using sylphid scales is a tailor's specialty, not a blacksmith's. Shin receives a notification from the game asking him to choose the item he wants to create. He selects a cloak. Then, another notification appears, asking him to specify the materials for the cloak. He enters sylphid scales as the material. Shin designs the item and draws as a simple cloak is bland, so he adds a hood but then makes it into a comfortable hooded zip-up. The automatic correction has finished, and a cloak is formed. Its characteristics are: the cloak is a unique grade item with a durability of 61 and a defense of 10. It increases movement speed by 30% and is very light, weighing only 5. The cloak is designed by a legendary blacksmith and activates stealth when worn, but stealth turns off if the user attacks an enemy. It also provides a 20% increase in wind resistance. There are no special conditions to use it, and it is made using 20 sylphid scales. Shin names it the hooded zip-up. Later on, the same day, Khan laughs at Grid as he talks about hunting sylphids. But unless someone is an elementalist, they can't see sylphids with their own eyes. Grid gets upset as he created an item for which he can't even get the materials, but Khan tells him to first listen to him completely, and the thing is that they can get sylphid scales even if he can't see them, as he just needs to hunt the Frostlight orcs in the snowy north. They have a sixth sense that can detect and hunt sylphids. They like to keep the sylphid scales as treasure, and while the Frostlight orcs have a big weakness against fire, they are still stronger, larger, and smarter than ordinary orcs. The next day, they create a brown leather jacket to save Grid from the cold, and its characteristics are the warm giant brown bear. Leather armor is a sturdy piece with a durability of 200 and provides high defense with a rating of 143. It offers excellent protection against cold environments and boosts cold resistance by 15%. However, it is vulnerable to blunt attacks. To wear this armor, users must be at least level 30 and possess intermediate mastery in leather armor. The hunting day has finally come, though Khan is worried for him and reminds him to be careful, but obviously he is going to have new equipment with him. The warm giant brown bear leather hat and cloak are both normal rated items with defenses of 19 and 22 respectively, and each provides a 5% increase in cold resistance. The warm and functional giant brown bear leather gloves are rare rated with a defense of 50 and a 15% boost to cold resistance. The great giant brown bear boots are epic rated, offering a high defense of 95, a 20% cold resistance boost, and a 2% increase in movement speed. All these items require the user to be level 130 or higher to equip. He even has his new weapon, the ideal dagger, with him. This was Grid's first hunt where he was properly prepared, but what he didn't know was that the drop rate of sylphid scale was below 1%. In the northern snowfields, Shin walks on the snowy ground, being all proud, saying it is barely chilly as he expected of the giant brown bear set. Most users would get frostbites within a few minutes, but he is fine because of the cold resistance being at 60%. Now the hunt of the starts, Shin spots the Frostlight orc's lair. Shin thinks that these low-grade monsters are so stupid they can't even use bows and arrows, and this hunt is going to be a piece of cake. The monsters notice a human coming towards them, but Shin doesn't seem to care, and he even smirks, addressing them as uncivilized beasts. Shin points his ideal dagger towards them and threatens them to hand him the sylphid scales. Otherwise, there will be a bloodbath there. Shin's smirk turns into terrifying expressions when he sees one of the monsters pointing an arrow towards him. He then remembers that Khan said, while the Frostlight orcs have a big weakness against fire, they are still stronger, larger, and smarter than ordinary orcs. Shin realizes he is in trouble again. Shin uses his skill Quick Movement with the agility and evasion rate increasing for 1 minute as the monsters attack him with the arrow. All of a sudden they stop firing, and Ahin thinks maybe they are out of arrows, but a monster stands in front of him, and it is 2 man-hours with his weapon. Shin uses Wind Blast skill to protect himself, but it doesn't seem to affect the monster, so Shin uses his dagger, but the cut isn't that deep, but it definitely hurt the monster. He thinks that he needs to use the combination skills to fight back. By using Blacksmith's Rage and Wind Blast together, his attack seems to work, and with a strike of a critical attack, he thinks he kills one of the orcs. The game notifies him that he has dealt 923 damages, and a bleeding effect has been applied due to the accurate aim at the target. But the reality is that the orc isn't killed yet, although his anger doubles. The orc keeps attacking him and increases Shin's damage, making Shin realize that his attacks are working, but the orc's health is a lot. He uses a potion and gains 1500 health, but it doesn't seem to help much as the orc keeps attacking him and suffers more damage, and he has another potion too. But again the orc attacks him, and now he is sprawled back to a tree with a notification of warning as his health is below 10%, and the remaining potion cooldown time is only 7 seconds. The orc comes in front of him, and now he has no way to escape. But suddenly Shin gets the notification that the passive effect of the title, Apostle of Justice, has activated, and it is strong and brave, and will not fall easily until the enemies are killed before him. Shin stops the orc's weapon with his bare hands, not believing that the title Apostle of Justice that he got because of Huroi has so much effect, and it even increases all his stats to 30%. Shin kills the orc actually, and gets notified of gaining experience of 266,000. His level has risen too, and he has recovered all his health as well. The other orcs get furious and surround Shin, but Shin takes this as an opportunity to increase his level and stats. 3 days later, Huroi follows Shin to the northern snowfields, regretting that it is too cold. He should have prepared for more equipment and worries for Shin, thinking that the orcs are pretty strong and attack in groups. He checks his items, which include 50 flame bottles to attack the orcs, and after getting Apostle of Justice's partner, he can now equip the sword and shield that he couldn't use back when he was just an orator. But when he arrives there, he sees a lot of orcs laying dead on the snow. Huroi thinks that Frostlight orcs are powerful level 120 monsters, and in such a big battle, he is afraid that Shin didn't come out unscathed. A voice breaks in. It is Shin. He is shocked to find Huroi there, but Huroi is happy seeing Shin alive and thinking that Shin is still alive and killed so many monsters with such a small dagger, and feels proud that his Ligi is so strong. Huroi bows down to him and apologizes to him for leaving Shin on his own, though Shin doesn't understand this behavior of his. Shin looks at his status window, and he is now at level 83 and rose by 38 levels in 3 days. Though he gets irritated at the fact that Huroi keeps following him, he asks Huroi why he keeps following Shin with that smile on his face. Huroi keeps smiling and tells Shin that, of course, he is happy as he was worried about Shin ended up being unscathed. But Shin is just tired of the fact that he hunted orcs for 3 entire days and killed over 80 of them, and still got only 3 sylphid scales as reward, including 580 golds, 40 frostlight orc hand leather, 25 orc hand axes, and 14 orc bows. Huroi interrupts Shin's thoughts, asking him why he is frowning so much, to which Shin replies in anger that he is frustrated that he didn't get what he wanted, and asks why he keeps calling him Ligi and keeps following him. Huroi is still smiling and says that Shin rescued him from that prison and saved him from the quest where he had to spend 50 hours in real life inside a dungeon. Though Shin doesn't believe that a quest would demand he stay 50 hours in a cell, Huroi tells him it is the truth. After arguing for some more time, their conversation settles, and Huroi asks Shin where he is headed now after killing all of the orcs at the Liar's entrance. Shin replies that he needs to get 20 sylphids, and there weren't enough at the entrance, so he needs to kill a few more within the lair, in the cave. He confesses to Huroi that he is getting sick of hunting for 3 days straight in game timing, so he will stop if he doesn't get another scale after killing one more orc. But something unexpected happens, and a giant orc appears in front of them. It is the Frostlight Orc Chief and is a level 140 monster, Field Boss. The monster attacks them, and both of them start running, though Shin orders Huroi to block the attack, as his class was a sacrificial class in the first place. But Huroi tells him that they don't have to run, as his caste is the Apostle of Justice's partner, so if they fight together, their stats increase by 30%, and he is at level 138, so if they face it together, they stand a chance. Shin realizes that Huroi is right and agrees with the plan, but tells Huroi that all drops will be his. A party has been created, and item distribution has been set to Party Leader Pickup. Huroi sees that Shin is just on level 83, and asks Shin how did he even kill all these monsters while being at a low level, and realizes that he has one of the 3 known epic classes when Shin doesn't seem to reply properly. Shin smirks and tells him to get to work. He guides him that he will handle mobs, and Huroi should handle the boss. Huroi uses his taunt skill to draw the enemy's aggro. Shin smirks, saying he has never seen anyone swear better than himself. But the thin skill of Huroi is amazing, and then he uses his combination skills, Unbreakable Justice, Wind Blast, and Blacksmith's Rage, simultaneously and obtains 2 more sylphids by killing 11 more orcs. The duration of the taunt ends, and the chief monster tries attacking Huroi. He freezes there, but Shin tackles the attack with 104 damages. He is dodging all the attacks but can't counterattack, due to which his damages keep increasing. Huroi uses the same skill as Shin and attacks the monster from behind with his sword and shield, causing pain to it. Shin also attacks him from the front, and the attack hits the face, and its legs are defenseless now. Both of them together attack the monster from front and behind, making the monster roar in pain. Shin thinks that they might actually win and thinks despite the fact how irritating Huroi is, he is good at matching timing with Shin. Both of them think that the monster is badly injured, but it attacks them again with its weapon as its skin is too thick, and he isn't going to die soon. The attack from the monster this time is so strong that both Shin and Huroi are sprawled back to the ground, and Shin is suffering from 5,300 damages with less than 20% health. On the other hand, Huroi is unconscious on the ground with health below 10%. Shin tries waking him up by saying he can't just die when he wishes when Shin is the one leading this raid, and instantly, Huroi wakes up. The monster attacks Shin as he is defending Huroi. Shin is dizzy and is on Huroi's lap. Huroi doesn't believe that Shin really hurt himself for Huroi, though Shin tells him to stop talking and attack the monster for a while. Shin's condition looks pretty bad, so he plans on drinking a potion, and the game notifies him that a legend doesn't die this easily, and he can resist all attacks for 5 seconds with a minimum of health. Huroi stands up with his weapon and says not only was he unable to protect Shin, but he now owes Shin his life as well. The monster's axe is coming from behind, so Shin warns him. Huroi tells Shin to drink his potion, but Shin tells him that he needs to get his aggro for him to drink. Huroi uses the skill Strong Will, and he can resist any attack for 10 seconds after using the skill, and the cooldown time is 90 minutes. The axe hits Huroi's head, but it doesn't harm him because of his skill. He throws fire bombs at the monster, and Shin smirks while drinking the potion as Frostlight orcs are weaker against fire. Both Shin and Huroi work together and throw fire bombs at the monster, and the monster is definitely taking the damage, but it is so strong and sturdy that its elemental weakness wasn't as efficient as they thought. If they don't give it damage, they will be the ones who will die. Shin laughs, mocking the monster, saying it hasn't been moving since they burned him, and it is like a standing lump of meat now. Shin decides to kill it in one hit, though Huroi tells him to not stop moving as the monster is still healthy enough to attack, and that is what happens. The monster crunches Shin in between his giant legs and points his axe towards Shin's face. Huroi knows this is bad, and he needs to do something in order to save Shin, so he says to the monster that it should have been more alert, as he is stronger than Shin, and he will use a skill that will completely destroy it. Sacrifice for justice is the skill he is talking about, though Shin doesn't understand as Huroi's health was completely depleted. But the blow is so amazing that the monster must have dealt a fatal blow. The monster takes his position again, and Huroi already knew it wasn't enough, so he tells Shin that he thinks things will be very different now, and he is handing the rest into his hands, and he will see it. The entrance. The monster tears Huroi apart with his axe, and Shin gets the notification that his party member, Huroi, has died. Shin says he doesn't understand what Huroi meant with different and entrance, but one thing he knows is that Huroi has done something for him. He uses his combination skill with rage in his eyes and plans on hitting the monster's vital spot. He hits the monster and realizes that it is taking more damage than before. Shin remembers that Huroi used the Sacrifice of Justice skill, and it used up his health, so maybe it reduced the boss's defense too. The monster moves the axe in the air and roars as the axe hits Shin, and Shin sarcastically says that even though this pig is on his death door, it is still attacking. He needs one last attack to kill it, but he is about to be dead and accepts his loss. But all of a sudden, the game notifies him that the Apostle of Justice is strong during times of crisis, making his stats increase to 30%, and the cooldown of Breakable Justice also ends. This is the opportunity for Shin to attack the monster, and he uses the opportunity smartly, and with one strong attack, he defeats the monster. A notification pops up telling him that he has defeated the Frostlight Orc Chief. This is Grid's first successful boss raid. Shin gets back to the smithy and looks at the loot he got and wonders that they barely won the raid, but he still didn't get 20 Sylphid scales. The Lostlight Orc Chief's helmet is a unique set item with a defense rating of 130. It provides a 10% increase in health but reduces the critical damage rate by 20%. It also has a certain chance of intimidating the target. If 5 set items are equipped, the wearer can transform into the Frostlight Orc Chief, allowing them to command Frostlight Orcs and granting the special skill Rotation Cut. This transformation requires the user to be at least level 150 with 400 or more strength. The Red Lightning Summoning Bead can summon red lightning from the sky, temporarily increasing the attack power of the weapon struck by the lightning and giving it a lightning attribute. The summoning lasts for 1 minute but reduces the summoner's health by 10%. There are 2 Blessed Weapon Enhancement Stones, 3 Blessed Armor Enhancement Stones, and 7 Sylphid Scales included. He examines the blessed enhancement stones and thinks if ordinary enhancement stones were to fail, the item's enhancement value would decrease by 3, but these blessed ones only decrease it by 1. They also cost 12 times more than ordinary enhancement stones, around 12,000 gold. Those high-level users only use these expensive stones when enhancing their equipment. In any case, these cost 720,000 won. He might sell them, and if it weren't for Hiroi, he wouldn't have obtained this much. Khan comes and smiles seeing Shin happy, though Shin doesn't give his items to Khan. But as Shin throws the frostlight orc leather, Khan takes it and informs Shin that this leather is of great quality, and if he uses it as inner armor, it can fully absorb the impact on the exterior armor. Shin is okay with it and tells Khan that he is now heading towards the market. Shin is in the market, and at the weapon shop, he asks for 10 ordinary weapons enhancement stones. Those are 1,000 gold, but he can't really do anything about it as he needs to prepare himself to go to the canyon. He will have to wander around the Kessen Canyon in search of the mural that depicts Pagma's swordsmanship. He had such a hard time against ordinary orcs, and even though he is at level 85. Now there are still many monsters he can't face, so for now on, he has to enhance his items. He goes to a quiet place and firstly enhances his ideal dagger, though he thinks of his family's crisis, but enhancing items up to +5 is normal and continues enhancing it. The +5 enhancement for the +4 ideal dagger was successful. He gets greedy and thinks of enhancing it one more time, as it is rare amongst the users, and he does it somehow. All the people around look at the dagger and admire it. The dagger is giving a blue shine, and people think it is a +6 or above weapon. Shin flexes it, thinking he doesn't regret using 2,000 gold to get a +6 weapon. He spots Katz, who is smirking as he sees people crowded around the Shin because of the dagger. Katz goes to him, saying he can't believe someone wearing those pathetic clothes is trying to show off his dagger, and tells him that he just came to spectate and flexes his own weapon. It's a +8 weapon. Shin is impressed as well as the people around him, but he thinks, why should the number of enhancements on his weapon matter to him, as he finds his dagger cooler, and he is satisfied with creating a weapon with so much hard work. Katz mockingly smirks, telling Shin to be happy and satisfied, and walks away. Back at his place, he thinks about how Katz is an attention seeker and angrily crafts items as he has to go to the canyon tomorrow and thinks, in any case, he has blessed enhancement stones, and he can't waste them if he wants to save his family, as he is not immature enough to be jealous. Khan enters from behind with the item he created with orc leather. Khan's masterpiece is an epic rated item with a defense value of 359. It reduces movement speed by 7% and weighs 1,900. This armor decreases physical damage by 20%. To use it, the player must be at level 160 or higher, have at least 550 strength and 380 stamina, and possess intermediate mastery in heavy armor. Shin is happy about the item and thanks Khan for it. He is done preparing and is all armored with the Frostlight Orc's helmet, Khan's masterpiece, the best gauntlets, and the adventurer's boots. He smirks as he makes an 8+ ideal dagger weapon by using his enhancement stone even after saying 6+ weapon is so much cooler. At the Kessen Canyon, Shin walks carefully as he will die if he falls. The Sylphid scales are important, but he should pay attention to the real goal and look at the quest information. Pagma's swordsmanship, first-class quest, is telling Shin to find the clue about Pagma in the Kessen Canyon south of Winston. The clear conditions are to learn Pagma's swordsmanship, and the clear reward is the reproduction of Dane's life. Even though the ideal dagger was enhanced to +8, it's still a level 180 weapon. It's not comfortable to Dainsleif, which is a level 250 greatsword, and the most important reward is Pagma's swordsmanship. And Shin needs to get this skill since he only has 4 attack skills, and he even needs to watch out for the caves on the wall. He got killed so many times by the level 160 monsters in those caves. Canyon Lizard, a monster of level 162 appears. That blade-like tongue killed him many times. Shin's body trembles, but he is not like before and uses his combination skills but still gets damage of 1230. Though the dagger's enhancement greatly boosted the skill's power, he defeats the lizard and obtains 329,000 experience. He celebrates his victory, but it doesn't last long as lizard men of level 185 arrive there. Shin attacks one of them with his dagger, but with them attacking him, he receives so much damage. Their defense is so much higher than the lizards, and they have thick skin and defensive equipment as well. He would have died if not for Khan's epic-grade armor, but the armor will be useless if he can't endure their relentless attacks. He stops their movements with the skills, and takes this opportunity to kill them all with his dagger while using his quick movement skill. He defeats the lizard men and obtains 948,000 experience. He killed them, but his mana is rock bottom now. He drinks the potion, so dealing with small mobs isn't a problem, and killing 2 more monsters will increase his level. He thinks that as long as he doesn't encounter the canyon spider, a monster of level 188, he is going to be fine. But this is exactly what happens. and a spider appears in front of him. This one is on another level. It can even kill lizardmen like they are nothing. He knows if he gets caught by it, he is dead, so he uses his skill, but it only deals with 300 damages, making Shin realize its defense is higher than the Orc Chief's. Shin's ultimate combo doesn't affect it. He can barely dodge its attack with his skill. Quick movement. Even Wind Blast is useless right now, and he will die at this rate. Normally, his attack power should increase by 60%, but it's only half of that since he doesn't reach the usage requirements. He could use Unbreakable Justice if he gets a chance since it increases the attack power by 300%, but he needs to make physical contact for it to work, so it's useless if he can't get close to it. He uses Wind Blast, and right before shooting Wind Blast, he adds Unbreakable Justice. The new skill fusion has succeeded. The fused skill has been generated. His intelligence has increased by 10, which deals 320% of his attack power to a target that can be up to 6 manners away. Damage range is a 2-meter radius around the target. Mana cost is 400, and cooldown time is 100 seconds. Shin created a brand new skill. The spider falls on its back, and not that it can't move. Shin finishes it off as the option effect of Best Gauntlets has been activated, and his attack is dealt twice with obtaining 387,500 experience. His level has risen up, and he is now at level 86. Shin gets super excited and finally celebrates his victory by screaming in enjoyment. On the other hand, Piaro, the Saharan Empire's strongest knight and ex-captain of the Red Knight, stands at the edge of a mountain looking at the scenario, thinking the guy, he means Shin, single-handedly killed a canyon spider, and he himself hasn't seen this in ages. Piaro thinks that he may be rough around the edges, but his abilities grow each time he defeats an opponent. He realizes he has finally found his agent of revenge from Asmafel. Unfortunately, that's where the story ends for now. If you liked this video, feel free to support me on Patreon, link in the description.